AmandaLand, AmandaLand, AmandaLand. Can you hear me now? The fact that you all feel the need to be like, no audio yet, no audio yet. I know that. I can see. Nope, not yet, not yet. Now, what's really weird is that this video was not playing. What's that about? Why won't this video play? Let's see if it does that for all the videos. Awesome. So something is going on with StreamYard that it's not playing videos today. Awesome. Awesome. Really just good stuff. Really, really fabulous stuff. And my name is Blue again too, which is pissing me off. Really, really cool, awesome stuff. Okay. I also loaded everything into the show and all of that was erased. Yay! Okay, let me I'm going to have to close out StreamYard completely and come back in. So I'll be right back. All right, so let's see, y'all. Why is there no audio? Why is there no audio?
They just bombed the boat that Greta Thunberg is on, and I want you to hear me when I say this. It is possible to be right and wrong at the same time.
Israeli government to murder civilians, and that is a notion that I reject.
Not you, Richie Torres, accepting $1.5 million from AIPAC, you piece of shit.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Now we're here. Good morning. It's kind of like Monday. It's a Wednesday, but it's a Monday. Good morning to everybody. Welcome to Views from AmandaLand, your news and truths by any joke necessary. You are waking up on the right side of history. Before I even go in any further, I want to let you all know that I had a delay with the shirt orders, with the t-shirt orders, because when the t-shirts came, I didn't like the quality, and I want to give you all exactly what you are supposed to be getting, because they had done something different than the samples they had sent me. So that is the delay, but the shirts are supposed to come today. So I am definitely on it. So I apologize for the delay in shipment, but it's what it is. It is the reality of what it is. But we are here in the reality of what this is, which is the world. The reality of the world. Instagram is messing with me. They have literally stopped me from being able to see any of the comments on my account. They are shadow banning me. Right now, my live is literally only getting 72 views. 72 views. So that lets you know that I am being shadow banned. So shout out to the YouTubes for shadow banning me. To the Instagrams for shadow banning me. What a surprise. What a surprise. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to be talking about Zohran and explaining why people like myself feel that Zohran have 100% started, if not completed, the process of selling out. We also have to talk about what's going on in Nepal and France and the Congo. And that will be a part of our critical thinking conversation, which is going to be, where is the rage? Where is the working class rage? So we're going to get into that. And that's actually our critical thinking. That's actually our question of the week. So let's just throw this out here. Bonus question. Bonus question. Bonus question. Bonus question. BONUSQUESTION. Bonus question. So today's bonus question is, where is the American rage? And I want you all to drop your responses in the comments after the show. That's going to help push the algorithm. Where is the American rage? Later on in the show, during the critical thinking exercise, we're going to show what's been going on in France, in Nepal. We're going to talk about Indonesia. We got something going on in the Congo. Where is the American rage? So I want you all to think about that. And really, I get your thoughts together on what is the stopping, what is the pausing that has members of the United States operating differently in their response to how they're being treated by their government. And remember, these are legit questions that I think are necessary for us to ask ourselves in order to continue to identify solutions and the root of the problem, et cetera, et cetera. So that is today's bonus question. Where is the American rage? So I want you all to make sure that you drop in the comments after the show and do that. Shout out to all my people on the replay crew. We respect you. And shout out to everybody listening on the podcast. We have Logan Grendel, aka Focus on Infinity, joining us today for 60-second headlines. And our Level Us Up guest is one of my favorite people, astrologist Laura Chung. And she was on our very first episode of Views from AmandaLand. And she's going to be joining us again as a tap-in to let us know like what the stars are saying and where we are. And, you know, whether you believe in astrology or not, believe in Laura Chung. Okay, because she don't be wrong. Okay, she don't be wrong. So she's going to talk about, and she's also an activist and she's a revolutionary. And so it's a different kind of thought process than just somebody who's reading the zodiac, if you will. So she will be joining us to talk about where we are, where we're going, and where we've been according to the stars. We also are going to get into the RICO charges being dismissed against the Cop City protesters in Atlanta. Got to talk about that. And also give you all some insight on what Cop City is for those of you all who do not know. We're going to talk about Ayo Ediberi, who definitely had a very interesting interview when she was in Venice. And we're going to talk about these actors that are boycotting Israel. There was a list that's put out. I'm actually on the list. And so we are going to do all of that today on Views from AmandaLand. But first, we got to find out where y'all are joining us from. Yeah, 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 yeah. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Everybody, everybody, everybody. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. It's the Views from AmandaLand. Roll call. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. All right, let's get into it. We got Ferndale, Michigan, Detroit. We got South Africa and Tokyo, Dayton, Ohio, Everett, Massachusetts, right outside of Boston, San Francisco, Glenside, Pennsylvania, East Harlem. I was just in Harlem yesterday getting my retwist done. San Diego, Charlotte, North Carolina, New Orleans, baby. No, that's not really a new baby. There we go. Maryland, Eagle Rock, California, Stockholm, Sweden, San Antonio de Tejas, Venezuela, Tunis, Mac City, Palo Alto, California, Français. Oh my God, I need you to tell me what's going on. We got Massachusetts, Chicago, Compton, Amanda's Takeover, New York at work, QU, that's Queens, Duval. Shout out to White Plains, I went to SUNY Purchase, Lightdale, Texas, Orlando, hey Carmen, DFW, La La Land. Classes in session, AmandaLanders here to learn. We got somebody in Cairo. I think this is our first one in Egypt. Next City, aka National City, California, New York, Philly, unfortunately, DC, Cuba. No, we don't have somebody watching from Cuba. We have somebody watching from Cuba. AmandaLanders here to learn. New Jersey, Tampa, Paris, Los Angeles, rainy London. Good morning, Reese. Good morning, Orlando, Chicago, Pittsburgh, PA, Manhattan, Asheville, North Carolina. AmandaLanders here to learn. Chicago. Thank you for telling me where you're watching from. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are world freaking wide. All right. Yes, that is our first Egypt edition. Where my pens at? Where are my pens at? All right, so we're adding Egypt. And someone said Tunis, but we've been had Tunis. So we're going to add Egypt today. Exciting! Marhaba! Marhaba! And then someone said Cuba. Did I see Cuba? I'm pretty sure I seen Cuba. All right. So we're going to go down to the Caribbean. Yes. Viva la Cuba. Yo, the map is mappery. Okay. The map is mappery. I'm loving how we looking on this map, y'all. I'm really loving how we're looking on this map. So shout out to everybody joining us here at Views from AmandaLand for the roll call. If you're just dropping in, remember, this is hello, this is your this is your news and truths by any joke necessary. Let's get into our word of the day. Our word of the day is antediluvian. Antediluvian. Oh. No, that's not what I meant to do. I didn't mean for it to be disappointment. Antediluvian. It's an adjective meaning relating to or typical of ancient times. And it's spelled ANTEDILUVIAN. Antediluvian. Now we'll actually be playing a game with our words of the day as our icebreaker at the AmandaLand Summit, which you all know is going down next weekend. Can you believe it? The AmandaLand Summit is happening next weekend right here in New York City. Now, listen, we ended up having a couple more spaces available. So if you were thinking about coming to the AmandaLand Summit and you missed the deadline, or if you were like, dang, I'm in New York, but I don't have the bread, guess what? 2 of the spaces, we also have the need for 2 volunteers. So you could get chosen as a volunteer and have your registration covered. So I suggest that you go right now to amandaseals.com and sign up to be a part of the AmandaLand Summit if you are thinking about it. All right. Register today at amandaseals.com. I'm so excited to be a part of this because to make this happen, because when you guys said it, it was like you like brought to my attention the fact that we really need this. We need to have spaces where we are outside of the internets, as well as spaces for the internets, right? We need to have spaces where we can actually be in community with each other in a very real way. And so I'm really excited for what we have coming up for the AmandaLand Summit. Now, something else that I think is important is that you guys know that even if you cannot join the summit, even if you aren't able to be a part of the summit, you can still be a part of certain events at the summit. So for instance, we have the Cracking Up the System event, which is going down on Saturday, September 20th, 10 a.m. to noon. And this is my panel where I am putting together comedians and organizers, because sometimes talking about this stuff can be so boring, but it's so necessary to get talked about. So we have Davidson Boswell, Christina Brown, Angie Langdon, and Claudia de la Cruz all joining us to talk about organizing, where we are, where we're going, what's happening in the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really excited that this is happening. And if you are in New York and you want to come, it's $10 in person, but under 18 is free. And if you are not in New York, but you want to watch, then the live stream is $5. And of course, the funding that you all are providing will go to me and the TPF. So remember, I'm doing this out of my pocket. Okay, I'm doing this whole thing out of my pocket, and I have not broken even yet. So if you are interested in donating, you can also go to AmandaLandSummit.com. You can go to AmandaSeals.com and throw a couple dollars at your girl. All right. Throw a couple dollars at your girl. Now, remember, your $200 will get you all your meals, as well as your swag bag, as well as access to the events of the weekend. So really looking forward to this. And yes, you have to register to join the live stream. You have to pay $5. Keep up. Come on, God. Keep up, keep up, keep up, keep up, keep up, keep up, keep up. So you need to go to peoplesforum.org and pay for the live stream. Yes. Now, what I want y'all to also understand is that if you are going to be a part of the AmandaLand Summit, it is a first time. Okay? It's the first time we're doing this. So we're all going to be here in a first time space, but it's still going to be, it's going to feel like not like a first time, but like a necessary time. So I'm excited about that. All right. I'm excited. So all that's happening, and it's going to be a great time, and we're going to have a great time right now because we are about to get into our 60-second headlines with our guest, Logan Grendel. Let's get into it. 60 SCOTUS on. Good morning.
Hello, I'm awake at... You have somehow gotten me out of my coffin earlier than usual. Only for you, okay?
Thank you. I'm so honored. Y'all have to understand my guest ended up not being able to join us at the last minute last night, and I threw out a lifeline, and Logan said, I got you. I will wake up early for you. And that touched my heart. That touched my heart because also, like, we have real stuff to discuss. We have real stuff to discuss. And so, like, I can't just discuss it with anybody. And let me just tell you, I could have done it by myself, but I'm like, no, I need another voice.
Yeah,
now,
I'm down. I'm interested. I'm curious.
Interested and curious. All right. So first up, I want to talk about the Global Summit Flotilla. Now, you were already talking about this on your page, but I also want to show you all some footage of what has been going down with the Global Summit Flotilla, because I think a lot of people, you know, they kind of like hear stuff from here, but then they don't hear about it like until they come back to Views for AmandaLand on a Wednesday. Yeah. And there's been a lot that's been going on, y'all. There's been a lot that's been going on. So let's get dangerous.
Are you coming to the tree?
Hi everyone, Yasmin here. The family boat has been officially attacked. A drone came right above it, released a bomb, and it exploded, and the boat was on fire. Everyone on that boat is okay. The fire is out. But I want to tell you that this boat was the boat that every person from the Madeleine, the old Madeleine crew, was on, which is Greta, me, Tiago, Schweib, and so many more amazing people. They have bombed a boat once again with civilians on it in Tunisian territory. This is an attack against Gaza because they don't want us there. So we need you to mobilize. Let's not stay quiet.
Now, this was last week or this weekend. Then there was a second attack on the Global Summit Flotilla on their boat. We've also seen that the fake news of them all, Israel is saying that this was not actually a drone attack, that this was their boat just spontaneously catching fire. Meanwhile, Israel has, including them being in Tunisian waters, attacked 5 countries in the past week. So let me know your thoughts about this Global Summit Flotilla, about you were talking about Greta Thunberg and why it's important that, you know, she's there, but also why it's annoying that people are like centering her, etc. So any thoughts you have to add, I would love to hear.
First of all, the hair looks great.
Same, because the bangs are banging. The bang.
The bang. Okay. No, for real. Okay, so the flotilla is super important. And it's important because, for the reason that you mentioned, is that people aren't seeing this on regular news because they're not covering it. Right. What they want to do is do what they've done to basically every genocide since this country has started, which is they do it in silence, right? It just happens. This is going to happen. It's real standard abuser shit. It's like, we're going to do this. We can do it the hard way. We can do it the easy way, but we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. And so what they're trying to do is, that means since they have control of the entire fourth estate, is that they are doing it quietly. They want people to be fucking quiet about it, right? But the flotilla, and the reason that it's so important that they're doing it, is because they put people on it who it's impossible to ignore, who have their own platforms. And this underlines to me the importance of not only people getting involved, like in every single way, but the importance of social media and the importance of the way that we have, in some ways, democratized media and democratized attention. It is. I mean, there's some astrology things in here, but I'll leave that alone. But like, the way that we have democratized attention in this particular era is the reason that we have an actual shot at global revolution. Because if it was the 1200s, and you wanted to say, oh yeah, these evil marauders have attacked our empire, you could just say that. Who's
Yeah.
going to check you, right?
Right.
But now you can't say that. And people with literally the eyes of millions will be like, actually, no, that you saw the fire fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
So this is really happening. And yes, while like, and a lot of people, like I said in my video, like a lot of people are pissed that it takes someone like Greta Thunberg, who is like, I will say this. I have been down since the beginning because I'm like, this is a little white girl who didn't have to do anything. She could have stayed quiet. She's got parents who are supportive, who would have basically supported anything that she wanted to do. And she instead was like, actually, fuck all this. And instead of going the route that a lot of people do who have that trajectory from young, she could have gone the liberal route and been like, actually, I want to go on MSNBC and I want to go on. And the reason that they used to cover her when she was just talking about climate is because it was cute. It was a little white girl talking about Fridays for Future and like climate. And then she was like, actually, hold on. This is all connected to racism, global capitalism, to all of the stuff that is actually what our world is built on. And I'm going to go deeper with it. And I'm not going to say less. I'm going to say more. And I'm going to broaden it wider. And they were like, shroop.
Cut it
Greta
out.
who? Greta who?
Greta
Who?
Thunberg.
Who? Greta
Thunberg.
Greta Thunberg. Yeah, no. So, and it's important for us to realize that as understandably pissed as like, a creator like myself, an artist like myself, like it's hard for me to get the same kind of eyes that somebody who's like white. Like when people think of non-binary people, they think of like somebody who is slender, white, and AFAB.
It's true.
Period. Right?
Yes.
And not like people like myself who we always been out here. Right. But, and is it annoying? Yes. But it's annoying for the reason that that people aren't going quite far enough. One of the things I say about everything, and I'll probably come back to this, take these thoughts to their logical conclusion. Why are you annoyed that Greta Thunberg gets more attention? You're annoyed because we live in a white supremacist world. Right. So you can be annoyed about it, or you can use that to our benefit. And that's what Greta's doing.
Fair.
She's like, because you care so much, because you only care about white people, okay, we're going to get some white people and we're going to go in your face because you don't want to blow us up. If the world sees you blow me up, it's going to be a problem. They're going to have feelings.
Yes.
Right? And that's something that the empire doesn't want.
No.
The thing they've always hated. Take it back to John Brown, the Sophie Shawls of it all, the John Browns of it all. We all heard that John Brown was out of his mind. There wasn't out of his mind. He was out of his mind because he was a white person who decided to take arms and be like, literally, fuck this racism shit. What are you talking about? You have people, you own people? That's ridiculous. Right? Look, I mean, if he was crazy, his fighting against racism was not the proof of it. Right?
Say that.
And with Greta, it's like, and with the whole flotilla, this is something that we need because people are like, oh, it's just a stunt. It's just, it is a stunt. Right. Most things there's a difference between performative and useless.
Yes.
And
this is why I went on Jubilee.
Exactly. Because most things, unless you're talking about literally taking up arms and going and dragging every single politician out of their home, which we would absolutely never, ever condone.
No. Unless we're in Nepal, which we will talk about later.
Most things are a performance for someone, right? Because you need to get people to see, right? That's what art is. Art is inherently performative so that you get
that word and they put a negative connotation to it regardless of its context. Right?
Yes.
Like some things are performative in a context of they are fake and phony, but some things are performative in that they are a presentation of, and they are a display of that which needs to be seen.
Yes. Exactly. And that is what the flotilla is doing. It's like, do they have food? Yes. Do they have supplies that would be great to get to people? Yes. Do they think that they're actually going to get those supplies to people? Of course they don't, because they know that the fake country is going to do everything in their power to prevent. And the fact that they use that I saw the commenter like Dracarys type shit. The fact that they used that fucking dragon's breath round.
Easy on the cursing. We're on YouTube. Easy on the cursing.
Oh. What did I say? I didn't say anything. No. Nice try, FBI. No. The fact that they used that like dragon's breath round on the flotilla shows that was a performance as well.
Right.
But
it was to be seen.
They wanted it to be seen, and they wanted it to be fucking scary.
Easy on the cursing. We are on YouTube. You're going to stop me from getting ads.
I didn't say nothing. Oh my God. Okay. Look, it's early for me. Okay. I haven't got my sensors on yet. No, sorry. Okay. Yeah. So they're trying to, as they always do. Again, they're bullies.
Yes, they are bullies. They're literally telling the people of Gaza City that they have to leave, and they're trying to send them to Massawi, which has nothing. It's an actual ethnic cleansing that's happening in real time. There, by the way, is supposed to be a UN General Assembly taking place where if apparently the representative of Palestine asks, because they moved it to Geneva. So apparently if the representative of Palestine specifically says, we need UN military support, then they will send it. That's apparently, there's like, according to protocols. So we shall see. And there's also like, well, is there a Security Council veto that can happen with this? No, apparently not. So we shall see. But let's get to our next story because we will talk about this all day. Apartheid is on its way, y'all. All right. So this week, the Supreme Court issued a decision that clears the way for racial profiling during immigration raids. This is very real. In a 6-3 vote in the case known as Vasquez Perdomo versus Nome, aka Chrissy Nome, the Supreme Court granted an emergency request from the Trump administration and temporarily halted a Los Angeles judge's order that barred roving patrols from snatching people off of California streets and questioning them based on how they look, what language they speak, what work they do, or even where they happen to be. Hold on. What is going? Talk to the people. I'll be right back. You heard me, Logan? Are you frozen? Talk to the people. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, while she deals with whatever that noise was, first of all, going back to the flotilla, okay, just for a second, we all need to be thinking about what we can do using our particular individual privilege, because that's what we all need to be doing. Right? We need more people of the overculture, white folks, to step up and figure out, like, how can I do this? And you know what? Not for nothing. You can start doing this in your home, right? You can start doing this at your dinner tables, because this is the conversation that should have been had. But one of the things is that we don't talk about certain things, right? That too is the kind of white supremacy that slows this down. Why is there only, and the question you have to think of is, why is there only this one prominent white woman who is out there doing this, right? Why aren't there more? Where are all of them? Because y'all, at least in this country, y'all are still the majority, right? The question isn't why, and she's not even from America. So we need more Americans to have skin in the game, to put themselves out there. And you know what? Like, people of color, we're going through it, okay? We're dealing with everything that all the empires are raining down, even though, like, the fake country is just an offshoot of the U.S. empire, right? We need more people to step up and do everything they can do from their positionality, because that's how we're going to get out of this. We need everybody.
Now, these people ain't never blown a leaf. Ever. And then all of a sudden today, they decide we going to blow all the leaves right under your window.
Of course.
As I was saying. So in a 6-3 vote in the case known as Vasquez Perdomo versus Nome, they basically said, and this is not a official ruling, Okay. It's a brief. And the Supreme Court issued an unsigned brief that overturns this anti-racial profiling decision that has been in place. So it gives immigration agents a green light to stop anyone that they just guess is here illegally. Anyone.
Yeah.
If they are speaking Spanish, if they're looking like they could be an immigrant. And this is when I was talking about before, this concept of Black folks being like, well, it's not going to happen to us. I'm like, why is your only version of immigrant someone that looks like they're from Central America? That's like, I don't understand how that's your only version of immigrant when Barack Obama deported more Haitian immigrants than anybody. Okay?
Ooh.
And for what it's worth, these people consider us immigrants. They do not consider us to be actual Americans. And I'm going to talk about this later in my How Black Do You Feel Today, because there was a Republican senator who just did an entire speech about how the United States is for white people. It's for the descendants of the Puritans, the descendants of those who fought in the Revolutionary War, not for us.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on this? Because it's really already taking hold where they're just stopping any and anybody. And that was already what was taking place. But now they can really be bold with it.
Well, I mean, is it starting or is it just overt? Did we just go from de facto to de jure? I think that's more what happened because, Black people in LA have known for decades, if you cross Alameda Boulevard,
right,
you're probably going to get harassed by cops. And that what you just said about like Black people thinking of, when we think of immigrants, we think of people from Central America. That happens because we're also Americans and we forget that sometimes.
I do. I know.
We are not. And that's one of the reasons that like I mean, this country was always conceived as a white ethno state. It's already in the Constitution, right? It's literally in the Constitution that you and I are 3/5 of a person, right? So this is just, they're just taking it back. When they said "Make America Great Again," they were talking about like 1776 type beat. It wasn't like back to the 50s, right? They're talking about like original. What the founding fathers intended was that I am not a person, you are not a person, only white landowning people matter, and everybody else, good fucking luck to you, and we're gonna come get you. So this is not
cursing.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
I need a little button. Ding ding. Yeah. Essentially, this is what's always been happening. It's literally what's always been happening. And now it's just in the laws. Because, like you said,
that is what has been really unique to the United States and South Africa, is that it was in the law.
Yes.
My mom talks about this all the time when she would try to explain to people who are in the Caribbean and people in England who were like, well, we've had racism too. She's like, it wasn't in the law.
Yeah.
It was completely written that this is fine, which is why when we talk about the apartheid that is in Palestine, we understand it as not just a cultural thing. It is written in the law that these people have different rights than these people solely based on their ethnicity.
Different rights, different roads, different access, like and to be
different prisons,
different
system, different literal judicial system.
Imagine being born somewhere and not having the same rights as the people who showed up. That's America. And I feel like the fact that everything that's happening right now is an escalation of what is already there and putting it into the laws, making it de jure. I said this a while back. When the Supreme Court went 6-3, we became a fascist ethno-state, period, because the Supreme Court has become the highest court in the land, right? So once the Supreme Court says something, wants something to happen, that is the highest law of the land, and everything else is just waiting until a court case gets to there. And
this is why when people say, it's all about the Republicans. And I say, no, the Democrats allowed for this to happen. This was already in motion. This has been in motion since directly after the civil rights movement. They began the process of reverting things. Okay. And when we have someone like Joseph Biden, who is a career politician, actively say he will not expand the Supreme Court, that is the Democrats being oppositional to not actual problematic and fascist takeover, but oppositional to any shift happening that could actually save the semblance of democracy that exists.
Absolutely. I mean, they are two wings on the same bird. They are there to keep entrenched power. That's it. And they have different functions. But liberalism was always a compromise between hard fascism and like, okay, right?
Yeah.
It was never a compromise between the far left and the far right. It never was. The far left doesn't exist as far as the government is concerned, right? So liberalism is always a capitulation. And, Obama should have made RBG step down, or like at least strongly suggested that she step down.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of things. I mean, didn't fight for, let them steal one of the nominations from him.
Yep.
Like, I mean, it's like, how far back do you want to go?
Yes. I mean, that should have been a whole big issue. And instead it was just like, oh, shucks, Mitch. Well, you got me.
And of course, the hubris of Hillary Clinton and all of those people being like, oh, it doesn't matter. We got this. We'll just do it because I want to be the one to nominate the next. Yeah, it's just hubris. And again, they're all buddies. It really is the kayfabe of it all. It's just like back behind the scenes, they're all friends. All their kids go to the same schools.
Sharing hard candy with George Bush.
Thank you.
Your man Obama was kikiing with Trump at the damn funeral.
Yes.
The Clintons and the Bushes own property together in Haiti.
Yes.
So all of this is, again, collusion, right?
Yes.
And when we see these folks post-presidency continue to collude versus doing the Jimmy Carter of it all and saying, okay, I couldn't say this when I was in there, but now I'm out here.
Yes. Yeah. Honestly, I feel like Jimmy Carter is all American presidents are bad. Period. But Jimmy Carter, I feel like, is the last decent human being who attained the office of president, as evidenced by the fact that he spent a lot of the rest of his life trying to do stuff against the stuff that he did when he was in office. Trying to, at least. It's all, they're all in on it, obviously. And are Republicans, Republicans are like the hammer, and Democrats are the ones who, could offer another solution, and they're just like, we're not going to, It's kind of like the people who, one of the best metaphors I heard is that the Democrats are like people who would put out the fire, and the Republicans are the arsonists, but the Democrats just sit on all the fire extinguishers and make you fill out paperwork. Like, do you have the right paperwork for this fire extinguisher? Sorry, we can't just... Yeah, I see that there's a fire and that's really bad, but you don't have the right paperwork. Sorry. And meanwhile, the fires continue and they keep lighting things ablaze. And it's like, yes, is an arsonist worse? Sure. But they work together and they have to work together. And that's why I'm like, I don't mess with any of y'all.
Well, now someone said, I think Mr. Obama played the game at the funeral. We're going to talk about playing the game because we're going to get into this conversation about Zohran. And I just want to plant this seed for you all. When you see people playing the game in your name, they are playing you. That's what is happening. So let's get into Zohran, because I know people are like, why are y'all picking on Zohran? Why y'all going so hard at Zohran? So I'm going to play for you all this interview that Zohran did with Al Trash Sharpton. And you're going to hear I Am Blakely's voice, because she was trying to share the video, but then she couldn't stop herself from talking. Now, for the record, people have said that I Am Blakely is anti-Black. Is she? I don't know. I haven't seen anything that said that. Do you have any experience with that?
I don't know I am Blakely.
Okay. So people have said, yes, that this influencer is anti-Black. Until I see an example of it, I can't just go on people just saying things, because people say things about me all the time. All the time. All right. So let's check this
They're
out.
just jealous.
Home of the largest Jewish population outside of Israel. The mayor must build a relationship, whoever the mayor becomes, trust in all communities of the city. The term globalize the intifada has become a flashpoint for Jewish New Yorkers who say they're concerned about how your views on the Israeli-Gaza conflict will influence how you govern the city. You said on Meet the Press in July, that's not language you would use, but you don't want to police the speech of others. But we both know words matter. The Department of Defense means something different than the Department of War. I've experienced this throughout my own civil rights career, and I've had to correct myself to deal with what people receive may
Get
not
to
be
the
what I
point.
meant. And words have
How long is
consequences,
this
and
struggle
sometimes
session
we need
going
to
to go
examine our
on?
own positions to build unity. Views on the phrase of global
Finally.
infiltrata changed since you've been running for mayor. Do you understand those that see it in a more threatening way than saying, I'm just not going to police other people?
I just need y'all to understand. Intifada. Frittata.
Infritata.
The struggle.
Language.
This
Yes,
is so
they have.
embarrassing.
And when we won the primary election, I said on that stage that I know that millions of New Yorkers care deeply about what happens in Israel and Palestine, and I'm one of those New Yorkers. And I commit to reaching even further to understand disagreement, to wrestle with the complexities of those differing viewpoints. Because what this city deserves is a mayor that looks not only to represent the close to 600,000 New Yorkers that voted for me, but rather the 8.5 million people that call this city home. And in the meetings that I've had
Yeah,
since
what about
that
all
moment,
that?
I've met with Jewish elected officials, with rabbis, with community
Are we
leaders.
gonna
And there was
talk
one
about
rabbi
them?
that spoke to me about how that phrase, for her, brought back
Or are we
memories
just
of
gonna
bus
keep
bombings in
censoring
Haifa,
Jewish
restaurant attacks in
feeling?
Jerusalem. And I knew that from what she was sharing with me that she had a fear, as she said, that could come home to New York City. And so in having that conversation with her, I knew that the gap between the intent that I have heard some New Yorkers share with the use of that language of calling for the end of the Israeli occupation of Palestinian land was disconnected from the impact it was having in that same conversation I was having with that rabbi. And so I have said, after having that conversation, that this is language I would discourage.
Now, there's a lot of dog whistling happening in his response. And for those who don't know better, they don't catch those dog whistles. And so they're like, what's the beef? Now, before we talk about this, I want to read Muhammad El-Kurd's response. Muhammad El-Kurd is an incredible poet and a Palestinian. And he said directly, he added him, okay, at Zohran. I have told you this on the phone, in person, and I will reiterate it publicly. What you think of the phrase globalize the intifada, our beautiful uprising against occupation, is irrelevant. What matters is that it's a slogan adopted by a movement that is partly responsible for your success, and you mustn't throw them under the bus. We are facing unprecedented levels of state repression and institutional censorship. Both our political organizing and speech are criminalized, and we are confronting genocide, for God's sake. That you choose to continue elevating Jewish feelings over the lives of Palestinians, over the fact of genocide, is nothing more than punching down on those who have helped elevate you. And not to mention, it is a bad electoral strategy, considering you are quite literally winning and need not to bow down to Zionist pressure. The tens of thousands of volunteers who have canvassed for you in the scorching sun, they are not to be taken for granted. Their support isn't conditional. Remember that. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I have some slightly differing takes on this, but overall, it's really, I mean, you saw how even Al Sharpton said like the Israeli-Gaza conflict, because he has already been, I mean, he's just part of these. He's done. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame because also what he could have done is he could have explained what globalize the intifada means.
Yes.
But people just hear a word that sounds vaguely Arabic and they let them turn it into a scare word. Because again, we're all Americans. We've all seen all the movies where they made, people who speak Arabic like into the villains, right? Where it's like, it's scary, the intifada, oh my goodness. And again, centering the feelings of white folks. That's what it's about, right?
Yeah.
whatever kind of white folks, it's about centering the feelings of white folks. And that's what we're talking about. And like, it's really a shame that is like, but also on the other side, he's a politician. Like really part of this to me is like, it's not that I dislike, I got something in my eye. It's not that I like think that he doesn't deserve criticism. We should always criticize all these people all the time, right? But it's also like, yeah, water is wet. And what he should have done is gone the route actually weirdly that like someone like a Donald Trump did and go straight to people. Be like, if I have to like curtail what I'm saying in order to be on here, I'm not going to be on here. He should have used the people power that he had garnered and used new methods of communicating, right? If I have to not say this, if I have to not say globalize the intifada, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to actually continue talking to the people. He did not take that route. And pretty early on to me, it seemed like he was going to, because he seems like the kind of politician who is very careful. And that was what my fear of him always was, is that he is careful. And to be an American politician, unless you're going to really do the thing, really stand on business, and also really be modern. Because in the modern time, you don't need to go to MSNBC. You don't need to do CNN. They're still thinking old. They're still thinking that they have to, again, play the game in order to be popular, in order to get the platforms. And they don't. They're playing an old game, and that's how Zohran is losing people right now, because he's still playing an old game. He's still thinking that like, if I change my language, it'll be better, and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, honestly, I don't think he's going to do all the stuff that he said he was going to do. Of course not. I think that he's a politician.
At a certain point, we are simply, I feel, just going along with what is there, and we're enabling it. Like, even when we say he's a politician, our government doesn't have to run this way. Governments do not have to be organized this way. There have been nations long before this Western version of things that did not operate in this fashion, the tribal nations, the indigenous nations, etc. Like, there have been nations that have existed, Mesopotamia, you name it. Like, there have been nations that existed that did not have to operate this way, but yet we are very indoctrinated to feeling like things can only operate one way and that we simply just have to deal with it. And my thing is, when the only option of it ever not being, the only way for it ever being different is to simply no longer accept it. Like, when I see people talk about Donald Trump, I'm like, Donald Trump is not playing the game with his verbalization, right?
Yes.
Like, he's actually not being a politician because he's backed by powerful people to where he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
So someone like Zohran is unique because he's been backed by the people in a powerful way that I have not seen in a very long time, maybe since Obama, where he did not have to. He did not win the nomination by capitulating to Israelis outwardly. Now, I don't know if you know what I mean? I don't know if in the background he was like, hey, y'all, after I get elected, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to show you love. We don't know. We don't know. But what I will say is that I am of a mind that the more we enable by simply stating, oh, they're just going to be what they are, we don't allow or cause pressure for them to be something different.
Yeah. And I think that, so I'm not saying something different. What I'm saying is I'm talking about my personal response of whether or not I am like, shocked and chagrined about him doing it, right?
No. Right. No, it's not about shock. Basically, I'm saying that people are kind of like, well, why are you guys attacking him, or why are you guys challenging him, etc.
Oh, no.
The reason why I was doing the same thing with Kamala Harris, and I said it to her face. I want you to be different.
And I mean, and that's what I'm saying is that, like, the thing that we could be telling Zohran is that you don't need MSNBC. You don't need, which I mean, and that's, I know.
Muhammad said, I called you.
But other people know. But other people don't know. And that's the thing, is that the reason that people are pushing back against us, calling out politicians is that we all are trapped in this thinking. And so it is, yes, Zohran is trapped in this thinking. So are most of us. And what I'm saying is that I'm not like, I agree with you completely, right? We need to imagine different ways. That's literally what I'm doing, is imagining different ways to use platforms and use the voice that we have, right? And that's what we need to push. And what I'm trying to just get to solutions at this point, right? Because it ends up being a thing where, where it ends up being like celebrity culture, where they end up making a fight out of politicians.
Absolutely.
And it ends up not being something that is productive for the people. And I'm just like, what do we do? What do we do?
To me, that means that our issue should be more with the people than with the politician. So like when people see me saying what I'm saying about Zohran, what they don't understand, they're like, why are you picking on him? And I'm like, if he does not feel pressure, then he does not change.
Yes.
That's the only thing that they are there for.
Yes.
Like, so I'm going to show you some of the responses that I got. Okay. Someone said purity politics is corporate for people with integrity that stand on business. And to that, I say, yes, TF, we can. How do you feel about the concept of purity politics that's being attached to anyone who expects their politicians to stand against Israel and genocide?
It's so irritating because they're the ones with the purity politics. They're the ones who demand that everything be homogenous. They're the ones that demand that you not talk about certain things. We're not the ones doing purity politics. We're the ones who are saying this is really what's happening, right? This is not about, I'm literally just talking about what has to happen. They're trying to keep things within they're trying to keep things within the Overton window. And that is by definition purity politics.
What is the Overton window? Let the people know.
So the Overton window is the acceptable range of political discourse. So in America, the Overton window is basically like, at this point, it's fascist. So it's okay to say overtly racist stuff. And it's okay to say racism is maybe bad, right? But saying something like globalize the Intifada is absolutely not. That is outside the Overton window. That is outside acceptable political discourse on the main stage. So the Overton window is the little window of what is acceptable to say on a CNN, on an MSNBC, without getting the plug pulled on you, right? So they are the ones that make sure that conversation stays within what is acceptable to their sponsors, to their donors, right? We're not the ones doing purity politics. That is all them. Okay. I'm looking at reality and I'm responding to it. That's what I'm doing. Right. So, it's absolutely not purity politics. We have, opinions that are all over the board about different issues.
Yes.
And that is what it's supposed to be. Purity politics is saying, get in line, do what has to be done. And what we need to do is we need to expand and in conversations with people in power or like close to power, but also with each other, being like, we need to expand these conversations. We need to learn more about what is possible. And also, not for nothing, not just learn more, but just do more. It really takes doing more.
To that point, someone said, moreover, let's get him in first and then push. Let's not push people away from voting for him to get a Cuomo. Sometimes I just don't get it. This rhetoric is so tired, Logan.
It is. It really is. It really is. It's like, okay, are we like the fringe loony left, or are we all powerful and what we say immediately changes everything? Like, which one is it, right? Which one is it? You can't have it both ways, right? So like, It doesn't make any sense to me. They really just want us to shut up. They really just want to not think about it.
They don't want to, like, it's a weird, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's the autism. Like, I just can't see
mood
continuing the same behavior over and over and over again and thinking that it will be effective. It's always, we'll deal with it when they get in. But to your point about doing more, no one knows how to do that when they get in. What is your version of applying pressure once they're in office? How is that effective once they're in office if you can't get them out of office? Where is your actual leverage once they have gotten the thing they required you to get.
That is, honestly, I think it's a thought terminating cliche at this point. Like, just be quiet until we get them in office. They don't think about it. Again, they don't take the thought to its logical conclusion.
Yeah.
They say, just be quiet till we get, and then they get them in office, and then they go back to brunch. Literally, they just want to feel like they got to win, right? So they don't have to think about it. They want to not have to think about politics.
That's the part.
And that's the part that to me is like, the idea of
coming from Grenada, where everyone talks about politics all the time, everywhere, and it's not seen as like a disruption. It's not seen as like this is personal. You're ruining the party with politics. Like, it's a part of the party. I mean, that's just what it is. You use politics in our carnival with jab.
I wish that was not my experience growing up as a Black person in America with a conservative, heavily Christian mother. Mm-hmm. Like, no, we didn't talk about politics because we Americans. And again, maybe it is the neurodivergence, but for me, it was always like, why are we not talking about this? Why are we not talking about this? This is what governs our lives. This seems like this would be important to talk about. And their game is just, what do I have to do to not have to think? Because once people actually start thinking about it,
yes,
it changes how you have to live.
So someone said, then when else is the time to hold people accountable? He is not out of step for supporting Palestine. He is trying to vie for the vote of rich people he doesn't need to win. Saying that out loud is not appropriate. I really appreciated this comment because it really grounded very quickly. Like you said, when they are making those statements before, it's like to shut you up. And it's to shame you for saying, hey, you don't need to do this.
Yes.
You don't need them. We have us. We had Chiose, who is a New York City councilman, on the show the other day. Last week, and he was really over here saying that he felt that politicians are going to politic, and he considers himself a politician, and he could not see, he said, as of right now, beyond a two-party system. But one of the things that really stood out for me was when we were talking about just challenging our politicians and letting them know that they can win.
Yeah.
That there's kind of, just like you said, like there's just a continued practice of like the same methodology of how to win.
Yes.
And he was like, well, when we have the Democrats, like if we don't have Democrats, then we're just leaving them to be Republicans and there's nothing fighting back. And I'm like, if we actually acknowledge the real strategy to win, it would be to engage the hundreds of thousands of people who are not Democrats or Republicans and give them something to fight for.
Yes.
Give them somewhere to feel seen.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, truly, we are all using a lot of us. And I mean, I'm trying to be compassionate in my responses because, again, we are all Americans. Most of us learned the political stuff that we know now, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But
like passionate with politicians. I was like,
oh, absolutely not. No. But like, yeah, we need to actually think about what's possible. And he doesn't need those votes. He has been talking to Democratic strategists. It's very clear. It's very, very, very clear.
Yes.
Very, very clear. Because it's that same losing strategy they have of appeal to the wine moms, appeal to the suburbanites, appeal to people who are, statistically speaking, a small percentage of the population, right? When, he got in there because he energized the people, and they're trying to, I think that they're trying to ruin him so that it stops other people.
Because the other Democrats aren't even supporting him. So why, if he is listening to Democrat strategists, it's like, well, you're literally welcoming the call inside the House. Because if the goal is we're going to get you on a path to make it okay for these Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries, Kathy Hochul,
where did she even come from?
We want to make it, she's very supported by corporate dollars. We want to make it okay for them to endorse you without it ruining their relationships. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's like literally they're trying to like nudge him to the middle without us seeing, like we're jackasses. Okay,
Yeah.
now I'm cursing. All right, here's the last comment that I saved. Someone said, I like and respect her. First of all, I just need y'all to know, I don't care. I don't care if you like and respect me. I used to care. I'm 44 now. I don't care. I have 5 cats. I haven't had sex in 2.5 years. I don't care. I don't care. I have a dog. I don't care.
Your dog is amazing, by the way.
You do love my dog.
Shout out to
Thank
Shorty.
you. I like and respect her. I'm just saying that we need to play the game as it needs to be played. Division isn't the answer right now. And that's not saying we should just swallow whatever our candidates say. It's understanding that the left is the last line of defense because the liberals and Dems ain't gonna do that.
This is giving bot. I've seen this exact same phrasing, this exact same line of thinking so many times. Not for nothing, since Correct the Record in 2016, they have been actually paying people to be on. That's the thing. Look up Correct the Record.
Okay, I gotta look that
literally a bot farm, and it's with the most Orwellian name in the world because it was there to correct the record about what people were saying about Hillary Clinton, which was true.
Right.
It's such an Orwellian name. But like, yeah, that is the same. They don't have any original thoughts, right? Because the other thing is that we have a diversity of thought because a lot of us are thinking, and they're just going. They'll watch CNN. And they'll hear whatever is said on CNN, and they'll just repeat that in the comment section. They don't realize that they have become unpaid bots.
Yeah.
At least the paid bots are getting money. Why are you doing it for free, babes? Like, get some coin at least. I don't know.
Get some coin at least. Let me tell you my last thoughts on Zohran and why I am very bothered by that very particular interview. And I want to point out some dog whistles that I think some people may not have noticed. One of the dog whistles is referring to the genocide as complicated. When you hear language that refers to what is taking place in Palestine as complicated, that is Israeli Hasbara. That is propaganda that is meant to distance you from being able to see yourself in the conversation. It's meant to surreptitiously condition you to think, oh, this is beyond me. This is not something that I can engage in. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. So I grew up in New York City, and I went to a school that was predominantly Jewish, and it was impossible. Like, you did not talk about Israel. You did not talk about it at all. Like, at all. You didn't say Palestine. You didn't. It like literally, you would be a pariah. Right. And the whole it's complicated thing, like you said, it is made to stop. It's above you.
Yes.
It's too complicated for you to understand. Your small mind cannot come. This has been happening for thousands of years, and it's not complicated.
No.
Wherever it doesn't matter if it started 1,000 years ago or 10 minutes ago. If somebody's getting curb stomped by 5 people, that needs to stop.
Correct. Period.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There is basic humanity that comes into play, and using that it is the biggest dog whistle, using the words it's complicated.
Another dog whistle that was in that conversation with Al Sharpton was the centering of Jewish feelings in response to this statement as something that needs to be addressed and responded to by the people saying this statement. Intifada is about fighting against your oppressor. So by stating that the feelings of the oppressor are hurt when you say we're fighting against the oppressor, that is a dog whistle that he's saying in that conversation, that he listened to a rabbi who said that this makes her scared about what could happen. Well, if you are a part of a people that actively feel like what's happening should happen, and you don't want it to come back to you, stopping language is not going to stop that.
Literally, literally. How about you stop killing the people and then you don't have to be scared? How about you get on the side of everybody who's trying to stop the genocide and maybe you don't have to be scared? Yeah, yeah. It absolutely. And I mean, not for nothing, we live in a culture where there's movies like Oppenheimer and American Sniper, which
Yes.
are about the feelings of white people
Yes.
who did atrocities.
Correct.
So we are primed to listen to people's feelings about the horrible things that have been, especially if they're black and brown, especially if they're black and brown. Cops do that. Cops will get mad about the horrible things you say about them because of the horrible things they do. It's like, if you don't want to be called horrible things, don't do horrible things.
That's it. That's it. And the other reason why people are really frustrated with Zohran is because he has aligned with individuals like AOC who have supported money being sent to Israel. He has aligned with the Democrats and has said that he is a fan of individuals who have come before him that ultimately did not actually stick to the campaign that they ran on. So when we're seeing these things, and particularly him sitting down for this interview with Al Sharpton, it itself is deeply problematic because Al Sharpton is actually working alongside Cuomo.
100%. 100%.
He is an actual tool of the Democrats. So this right here is not just us flying off the handle. What it is that a lot of Democrats just haven't become leftist yet.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. 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 Yes.
That's just it. A lot of us are Democrats that saw more than we had been shown and realized we could no longer stay in alignment.
That's it.
And thus we are here. We're not leftists because we were raised in a communist household. We're not necessarily leftist because we are a part of Antifa. No, many of us are leftist simply because we see that Democrats are complicit. They are using our money, our taxpayer dollars to commit a genocide, and they are laundering our taxpayer dollars to make billionaires richer. And they are ultimately complicit in expansive efforts to diminish our rights, which we'll talk about with Cop City later on in Black Urate News. And I just want to close with this video that gives you an idea of what Israel is really on, because I don't think enough people understand that this is not a unique point of view.
היא תומכת בתוכנית מסודרת לשלוח את כל העזתים למדינה שלישית שלעולם לא יחזרו.
אם זה תלוי בי, לא רק שולחת אותם, בדרך מוודא שיש מחנות ריכוז שגם ישרפו אותם.
Like, that is insanity. For those of you all listening on the pod, that is an Israeli woman on the street in Israel being asked, is your wish to see Palestinians completely removed from Israel? And she says, yes. In addition, I would like them on their way out to have to go to concentration camps where they are burned. Make it make sense to me.
The thing that actually opened my eyes to what was happening in Israel and Palestine was an interview, an on-the-street series of interviews by Abby Martin.
Shout out to Abby.
Global treasure. Global treasure. That's what opened my eyes, because the people on the street.
Episode of Small Doses Podcast, y'all.
Oh, amazing. Seeing just what the average person there thought was like, it's
average, like man on the street, like Jimmy Kimmel interviews.
Literally, and they would be saying the most horrific things.
Casually.
Like what she just said, what that woman just said. And that's not like again, their Overton window is just it's either we expel them and commit genocide, ethnic cleansing, or we actively kill all of them. Yes. That's the entire conversation there. And wow, it is sociopathic, for lack of a better word, on a countrywide scale. But I will say this, that is the same thing about America. We do that all the time. And we as Americans, our money all the time is going, that new iPhone, Congolese blood is in it, right? We are not as overt about it, but we're kind of like the Democrats in some ways, where we let the shit happen and we accept the way that it is. I mean, I'm going to say, you know,
I
the
don't
NFL,
think we deserve a country.
No, I agree completely. And they're the ones that are destroying the country because their stated goal, Steve Bannon and all those, their stated goal is to get rid of the administrative state. And that
What
means
I'm
to get rid
saying
of
is
America.
that is exactly their goal. And I think what not enough USCians really seem to understand is that the reason they will be able to achieve their goal is because there really is no such thing as the United States of America beyond on paper. Like, we are not a unified nation.
Yes.
We do not see each other as shared people. We do not share a culture as Americans. That is really much more than oppression and golf. There's really, you know, and like, we do have Black American culture, and we have like cultures that have been formed out of, like, basically in spite of. But when I think about this country and people being like, we need to fight for this country, I'm like, as a people, we're not a nation. We don't even deserve, no, because we don't even know what to fight for. You're fighting for your house.
Literally. Now, America should be at least 6, 7, 8 different countries.
Yes.
It is only held together by force and violence, like all borders, honestly, but still, yeah, like you said.
So before we get out of here, Corinne Campbell says 47% of Project 2025 is completed at this time. 47%. Well, always a pleasure. So proud and honored that you woke up early to come curse us out.
That's amazing. Yeah,
so
my
much.
filters slowly came online.
Y'all make sure to check out, follow, support Logan Grendel at Focus Infinity on Instagram, as well as on Patreon. There's a very robust Patreon popping off that you can be a part of. Thank you for always lending such deep insights and, you know, just continuing to expand our minds.
I appreciate you so much, and same to you.
Thank you. It's 11:30 here at Views from AmandaLand. Good morning. Thank you to Logan for joining us. Welcome to everybody who is here. If you don't know, after the show, you can continue the conversation by subscribing to my Patreon and joining us for the after show combo, the after show kickback. All right. All you got to do is go to patreon.com/Amanda Seales. It's $5 for a monthly subscription, and you can be a part of our community, not only today, but continuously. And I think it's a very worthwhile investment. And also, you're supporting my work when you are supporting Patreon. All right. So, you know what? I think it's time for us to see how Black I feel today. How black do you feel today? Hey.
The Continental Army soldiers dying of frostbite at Valley Forge. The Pilgrims struggling to survive in the hard winter soil of Plymouth. They struggled, they died for us. They built this country for us. America, in all its glory, is their gift to us, handed down across the generations. It belongs to us. It's our birthright. It's our heritage, our destiny. If America is everything and everyone, then it is nothing and no one at all.
Dear white people, I don't know how else to say this, but we actually don't want your shit. It's just that y'all want the entire world, and it don't work that way. And by the way, when y'all thought you were the only ones in the world, you enslaved yourselves. So, like, it's just exhausting. It's exhausting. Like, honestly, it's like so exhausting. Just having to be on a planet with these like Neanderthals who are the descendants of folks that only speak in grunts. And now we've been on the earth long enough that they have recreated and reproduced into people who outwardly are not a part of what's considered the white race. but they still feel compelled to carry it forward. It's just so irritating because when people mind their business and say, fine, white people, like, go over there, they like, what y'all doing? Give me. So it's really that y'all are obsessed with us. We are not obsessed with you. Y'all are obsessed. Have y'all noticed this? Like, the history is literally white people being like, but why aren't you paying attention to us? And of course, there's going to be somebody who says, no, but you guys always want to go to our schools and be in our neighborhoods. Actually, that's not what happened. What happened is that Black people were supposed to be separate but equal. But no, y'all want to give us the worst of everything. Y'all want to steal the money. Y'all want to prevent us from having resources. Then you want to make your neighborhoods so pristine and dope. Oh, we have trees and we have police that don't beat us and we have better schools and we have property that's at a higher level. So you have a higher value of equity. All of that was denied Black people. And so Black people who could were like, well, I'm gonna just go over here to this white neighborhood because, I mean, they have the stuff that they won't allow us to have in our own neighborhoods. Why shouldn't they want better? So if this country really was on some like, no, really, we just don't want y'all to be bothering us, then you would not bother so much as a nation inflicting harm on this other community. That is only gonna make those people in that community say, well, I need to go over there. Yeah, I need to go over there. Because I'm not going to stay over here just because y'all think I should be over here because I deserve better. So I'm going to go over there. White people, as a chosen race, because that's what it is, are good at things that nobody else is interested in. Like oppressing each other, like stealing other people's resources. Like, we're not interested in that. So, like, you have no worry. Like, nobody's coming for what you got. We're cool. We don't want that. And honestly, like, let's say y'all came up with some, like, really dope inventions. We'd be like, congratulations. That's dope what you come up with. And then we would go back to where we're at. It's y'all that, when we make conventions, when non-white people make inventions, y'all be like, what is that? No. Hey. The Black people the white people who are watching this video and are like, word, just know that y'all are my people. Because, honey, I know that there are white people that are just like, I am so tired of this white thing. I'm having to be white because it's a thing, but I don't feel white. Ugh, I respect it. That's how Black I feel today. There you go. That's how Black I feel today. And I don't want to underrepresent how loud these white people are right now with their we're white. You're not gonna stop us. I mean, we can. Just so you know, we can. By the way, Haley Williams has a new song that is like super G'd up. I need to find it because I saw the lyrics to it and I was like, okay, Haley Williams. She's not playing around. And you know what? We're not playing around either because it's time to level up. We're going to get into it with our guest. You know, I wanted to make like a special intro that was like Astrological, but I didn't have time. Let's get into our Level Us Up guest, AmandaLand. We up. We are joined today by our K-drama leading lady, Laura Chung. Laura, the first time you came here, we had never met in person.
No, we have not.
And now we go on walks and we go to farmers markets.
Yes, we do.
And so
And-
it's been a long 9 months.
Well, I just want to say that Amanda is who she says she is. She shows up, she is direct, and I really appreciate that we've had this friendship so far.
Same. And Laura is the same. And I showed them the video because it's my favorite earlier when you said, "Not you, Richie Torres."
Oh my gosh.
That's my favorite Laura Chung video. You're like in a park, "Not you, Richie Torres." And it was very New York.
It comes out sometimes, you know. I got to keep it real.
You got to keep it real. Keep it real. So we are so lucky today because Laura is a gifted astrologist and has always on her different pages and whatnot, because they played you on TikTok, but you're still with us on the Instagrams, giving us so much insight into the stars, the planets, and the things. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just sit back and let you take it away on where we are right now as a world, I guess, as a nation, and then anything else. I know you're prepared. So just do whatever you prepared, because I know you prepared.
Okay. Well, talk about Overton window. We are in a global intifada. I mean, if you just pay attention with what's happening in Nepal, what happened in Indonesia, what's happening in the United States of America, like it is happening. So when I came on last time, I threw out some dates. I said, this is going to be a very epic year of political upheaval and change. And so prepare yourself.
Yeah.
And it was really, I was really talking about the outer planets moving signs. And those outer planet changes were about a time of revolution. And so now that those outer planets are retrograde, this is a time for us to review and kind of recalibrate, to witness and like kind of digest everything that's happened since the beginning of this year, since January, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can really look at how the powers that be were trying to oppress us even more. And then we could then plan and organize for how we're going to essentially like help this empire die, because it's dying. We are at 250 years next year.
Mm-hmm.
And empires die, or what we understand about this specific US empire will die. And so how can we help it die? How can we usher it in? Like, how can we be the death doulas and then allow it to die peacefully so that the next iteration, the next transmutation of it isn't another empire?
The death doulas. So basically we're in hospice.
Yeah. Well, it's basically like the US's tentacles are all trying to hold on. It's the extinction burst. That's a psychological term when a maladaptive behavior is being conditioned out. And so the person or the being doubles down on its maladaptive behavior. And so as it's dying, it's trying to hold on to whatever power it still has. And so when I say tentacles, the US has 750 military bases all around the world.
Yep.
And so we're seeing just the death machine of it all even more so than ever. And we had to have seen the rot of what the US was founded on for us to understand the depths of where we need to transmute this death machine. So I know everybody feels overwhelmed by it, and that's also by design. They want us to be apathetic. They want us to give up. They want us to be disempowered. But there's a moment of awareness, and I think we're stepping out of that moment of awareness to now we have to take action that's aligned, that's in our capacity, that centers the needs of the community.
So when we are talking about the community,
yes,
what do you what does that mean for you in this context?
So I always say I'm from a collectivist culture, but I don't live in a collectivist country. And that's really painful because I'm from an Asian like culture, obviously, where the needs of the community are centered. Like whatever the family and the community needs, it sometimes does trump the individual need, I have to be honest. But there's safety and security in knowing that I'm not alone and that I'm going to be taken care of. And so your community might actually mean like the people that you live near, your neighbors. And I would say I would start there, because not everybody is going to have a global community because they just can't. It's not in their capacity. And so I would look around you, like your neighborhood, the people that you, are surrounded by on a day-to-day basis, and start organizing with them.
So my loctician was telling me that her block that she lives on, they have a WhatsApp, and they utilize this WhatsApp as basically their community conversation hub. And I was like, yeah, but like, what are you guys talking about? And they're like, well, they did a community pool to raise money to like hire a cleaner for the block because the city didn't do it, and they're continuing to fight the city, but that in the meantime, in between time, they have that. Then they'll do a thing where like, if someone moves their car, they'll be like, hey, I'm leaving this space if anybody is looking for a parking space. Like she showed me where it's like, someone put a picture in the chat and was like, hey, y'all, these people are sitting on your car. So, just letting you know they're making your car a couch. And I was really surprised by this because she lives in New York City, and it's not like she lives in some like affluent neighborhood, like it's a block in New York City. And it seems like this is so old. It seems like this is so like newfangled, but that's very old school, that your block would know about each other's coming and going, and which has been very unique for me living up here in Rockland, right? Where like bumping into people in the grocery store and in like Main Street, the fact that there is
you're like
all the time. Like I was in, Walgreens yesterday, and this woman's like, Amanda, hello. And I'm like, oh, Joanne. Like it feels very small town. And I think we have to kind of like make everywhere feel small town. Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, because unfortunately, where we live is very Zionist. We live in a very Zionist town, in a very Zionist state, right? And there is this feeling of needing to, again, separate ourselves. Like those are those people over there. And I don't know, I'm not there yet. And I don't know how we get to a place where we put our needs aside, and because like things are going to get real more so in the future. I would say 2026, we're going to
What do the stars say?
So the outer planets right now are retrograde. So this is kind of like the reflection period. And then they all move forward again in 2026. And 2026 is the United States 250-year like birthday, solar return. And there's multiple cycles going on at once, but we're definitely going to be in some kind of, we're already in war, right? Like we're in multiple or conflicts or genocides.
Yes.
But I feel, and this isn't just my feelings, this is like most astrologers see that we're going to be in some type of civil war, like internal war, as well as a foreign war. And what's troubling is that as the United States becomes more and more isolated, we see China and Russia and North Korea kind of banding together against the United States. So I think more than ever, we have to, again, like the people power, Pluto and Aquarius, the age of revolution, Neptune and Aries, reimagining things, reimagining what our future could be, Uranus and Gemini, taking back communications and educating each other and being the little disruptors in our neighborhood. So it's like, how we have to look at how they've used their power, and we kind of have to not only counter that and resist that, but then imagine new ways of being.
1000%. I've been trying to really kind of put this into praxis, you know, this thought process beyond just like the doing on a tactile level, but this like spiritual level that we like, this metaphysical level that we have to tap into, that we've really been tapped out of because of convenience, because of technological advancements, and also I think because of distance, right? Like there is an energy exchange that happens, and we are no longer attuned to even being able to recognize that. I can't remember if it was Du Bois who said it, but they were basically saying like your town shouldn't be bigger than you're able to know who's in your town, like to know the moral code of who's in your town. Like it should not expand beyond to the point where it wasn't Du Bois. It was in a documentary that I was watching about the Gilded Age. I take it back.
Same thing.
Side note, I don't know if they get into it into season 2 and season 3, but the fact that the whole show, The Gilded Age, doesn't have anything about the labor movement is like, what is this show? But they were basically saying that what happened with cities is that it made it to where there's such a mass of people that you no longer have moral code, because there's more people than you can hold accountable.
That's very true.
Right? And I feel like it's the same with the United States. Like when we talk about our politicians and the ability to hold them accountable, like in smaller countries, you're bumping into your politicians.
That's so true. Yeah. And we don't live in an accountability culture. So like, it just seems like the evil entities, the demonic forces just keep getting away with things, and they don't get any sort of...
it's a narcissism.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think people grasp that people can be brainwashed.
Totally. But that's where the decolonization and the healing and the deprogramming needs to happen as part of our activism. Because I feel like, okay, if there was like a Venn diagram, I would say it's like healing, decolonization, spirituality, the activism, and then the anti-racism work. They all have to go in tandem together. Because what ends up happening is I meet a lot of activists who are very doom and gloom, who are like, what's the point? Let's just have a comet hit us. And it's like, no, we didn't come. Yes, these are activists. And it's like, no, we did not come up in here. Our ancestors did not survive for us to just give up, you know? And then I meet spiritual people who are all like unity consciousness, and then they disassociate from the reality of what's happening, you know? And then I meet the healers and the people who are doing the work of, you know, but they aren't active, you know, they don't actually take that, what they've learned, into going into these spaces and helping people. And I'm not saying everybody has to do everything at once, but I feel like this work has to go in tandem together, because you also don't want to show up into activism spaces and center yourself. And I think you and Logan were talking about that, you know, we have to constantly decenter ourselves, especially if you're raised as an American person or from the West, right? It's my needs. How do I feel about this? And oftentimes, you know, like, yes, we have feelings, but sometimes we have to move on for the sake of the collective. And I hope
you're yelling at me.
I'm sorry. You specifically?
I feel like you're attacking me. You're yelling at me. I feel attacked.
You know, I feel like we have
recently.
Well, I feel like we have a relationship where we could be very honest with each other and we wouldn't take it personally.
No, I feel like I have to. Okay, because I don't know if it's guilt that I'm feeling, like attacked or if it's okay. Can I tell you a situation?
Yeah, it's your show.
Fair. By the way, I'll see Laura. She'll be like, so how's such and such? I saw it on your show. Like, I saw it on your Instagram. Which, by the way, I appreciate. Let me just publicly tell you this, because I've had so many friends in my lifetime who see something on Instagram about me, but they don't actually talk to me about it in person or like on the phone. They just like consume it like it's the Amanda Seales show. And I'm like, can you call me? I had to block friends. I had to block like my good friends for like a good 6 months, because I was like, if you want to know how I'm doing, you need to hit me to find out.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to go into a PhD program, and I went to a colloquium, which is where basically it's like an intellectual conversation. And this colloquium, when I got there, like they didn't have like a room for it. Like there was no information. I was having to like email all these people. The security guards didn't know. So I was already like disarray, not disarray, disarray. Right. And I felt, I was like, I don't like that, but okay, whatever. So my former professor, who is like my chosen godmother, she works at that school. And so she was like, well, just go in my office and hang out and, we'll figure it out. So her assistant actually was like, I'm going to do some sleuthing and find where the event is. So she did, she found it. And so I was able to go. So I get there and there's probably about like 13 people. Majority of them are like professors and grad students. And then there was like me and somebody else who's like an aspiring PhD student. And the premise is that they're basically creating a space to talk about intellectual conversation. And every colloquium, they'll have like 2 professors that will go to the front and that will say like, this is the work I'm doing. This is the academic study that I'm creating. This is where I'm grounded. And then it opens the floor to conversation. So when I was in there, I've had a feeling hit me that I would have to be small to be in this space. I would have to get smaller to be in this space. And I wasn't like immediately bothered or turned off by that, but it was just a transmission, right? Like if you're going to have to get small to be in this space. So then the first professor kept speaking, and then I'm getting an echo from you because you don't have headphones. That's what I'm trying to figure out, like why I'm getting an echo. Okay. And then the second professor started speaking about her work. And her work is around poets, Black poets, in like the last 20 years. And so some of the people that she was naming were people that I know. One of them was at my house when you was at my house. And so in that conversation, it was like almost meta, right? Because like she's literally saying that like the work that she's doing is my actual life, right? Like that I've actually lived, that she's studying. And so then when they were like, we're going to open the floor, I was like, can I? And she was like, I was going to say something before you ask a question. I was like, I was just going to make a comment. And she was like, go ahead. And so my comment was to expound upon what she's talking about, namely because I've lived it. And then after that, we went into lunch, and I'm giving you details so that you can feel like you have a full breath of what I'm talking about. So after that, we went into like the main area to get some food, and we all came back, and I let her and the other professor know, like, hey, I just want you to know, if you see my head down, I'm drawing. It's not that I'm not listening. Like that's actually what helps me listen. She was like, girl, you here. I already know what you do. So I'm just glad you're here. Now I left out the fact that by the time I made it to sit down in that room, 5 different people had recognized me. All right. Like in the room, they recognized me. The security guard recognized me. So by the time I got to the room, it was like, okay, this is already a space where I kind of like I'm visible in. So now someone else asked a question. The person kept talking, and then I was like, "Hey, can I?" And I was like, "Oh, can I ask a question?" And then the moderator, who is an Asian professor, her name, I'm not gonna say, I don't need to say her name, but she was like, "Can we actually have someone else speak who hasn't spoken yet?"
Oh.
And I was like, I said, "Wow, this is happening again. First it was second grade, and now it's this as a 4-4-year-old." And she was like, "Haha, no, really though." Now this is for a program that is titled Black Race and Ethnic Studies. There's only 3 Black students in the room. The majority, all the other Black people are professors. So then someone else, a non-Black person, was speaking. Fine. But that moment flooded over me, and I said, "It's time for me to go." And so I packed up my things quietly and I headed out. And then when I got down the hall, the same professor who shut me down, she ran outside and she said, "Excuse me, are you leaving in anger?" And I said, "Well, no, I wouldn't say I'm angry, but I am disappointed." And she said, "Well, what's the issue?" I said, "Well, to be quite honest, I didn't appreciate being silenced. I'm not sure if you know me or my work," but she's like, "No, I don't." I said, "Well, I'm an asset in that room. And I know that I had spoken before, but I hadn't asked a question. And I know that like the question aspect of this is really important." And she was like, "Well, you have to understand." I said, "Well, I'm still speaking." No. As I was speaking, she was like, "Can I speak now?" And I said, "Well, I'm still speaking. So no." And so then I finished my point, and then she was like, "Can I speak?" And I said, "Go ahead." So then she started speaking, and she said, I am creating a space, I have to make graduate students feel like they are heard and like they have a space here. And so I said, "Yes, I am looking to be here as a graduate student." And she said, "Well, can I speak?" I said, "You know what? If this is how you interact with folks, I just don't need to be here." And I left. And so I am in this like kind of space where I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm wrong in reading my intuition as saying I shouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know. I feel like there's like an egoism involved, but I don't know if it's like a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, you were triggered because it brought back memories from when you were a kid. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
but here's the thing. It's like, it did bring back memories when I was a kid, but I've experienced this as an adult, right? Like I'm constantly being told, stop talking, let these other people.
Yeah.
So I guess it was like when you were talking just now about like, sometimes we have to like, step back for the greater, for the greater good of the folks. I'm just like, am I failing to do that in this space?
I see what you're saying. So you internalize what I was saying to,
that's why I said you were yelling at me.
to specifically explain this one. Yeah. I have to sit with that because I feel like you're in an institution that is like, like going to school is like very hierarchical, and you have to like, I know you have ADHD and you're a neurodivergent person. I don't know if those institutions like know how to be with neurospicy people. You know what I mean?
Yes. And my loctician sent me something this morning that I wanted to read you as an astrology guru.
Okay.
So it says, "Be Pluto. Pluto lost its planet status in 2006, but continues orbiting the sun unbothered by scientists' decisions." And she said, "Be Pluto. You don't need their PhD to be categorized by their standards. You'll take the same path and end up in the same places they do while doing your own thing, orbiting the sun unbothered."
Yeah, and Pluto is the god of the underworld. Like there's bigger fish to fry. I would say I've obviously like you're a very empathic and sensitive person, and I'm not saying to like disassociate from your feelings. I mean, you're a Cancer moon. I'm a Aquarius moon. I'm very good at detaching emotionally.
Okay.
And so I guess like I would understand that as somebody who has a water moon, right? Like you're very intuitive, you're very empathic, but you have to understand like the bigger reason why you're there, because you do have a bigger reason why you're there. And so I love that analogy you gave with Pluto, because it's like Pluto takes no bull. You know, it's the death in the underworld and the rebirth. So I think going back to what I was saying, it's like there's so much nuance and there's so many layers to this, right? Community, because we are going to get triggered. No space is safe. But again, like how can we try to show up and have harm reduction? How can we also take a step back and say, what is the bigger picture of why I'm here in the space? Should we talk about the outer planets?
Please.
Okay, since you brought up Pluto, and I think we talked about this the first time I was here, Pluto is an outer planet like Uranus, like Neptune, and it changed into the sign of Aquarius November 19th of 2024. And the last time this happened ushered in an age of revolution. So this was the American, French, and Haitian Revolution. And so now with Pluto back here, we see all these revolutions happening in the world. And what I find interesting is that on September 5th, Trump restored the Department of War from Defense, but it was named the Department of War on August 7th, 1789 by George Washington. He signed it into bill. And this was during a Pluto and Aquarius time. So it's kind of like that return is like hearkening back to George Washington, American Revolution era of like, and actually it's more accurate to be called Department of War, if we're being honest. It's not a defense. And then on July 4th, the big, beautiful bill was passed. And one of the things that it was, a little bit of like a retraction was the birthright citizenship, which was in the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was ratified in 1868, and that was a Neptune in Aries time. And we are currently in a Neptune in Aries time. Other things in that bill were, Medicaid, like restrictions on Medicaid and SNAP benefits. And that all of those things happened in 1964 and 1965. Lyndon B. Johnson passed those, for elderly people, disabled people, people who need food stamps. Mm-hmm. These are just things that we've almost taken for granted. In the last,
they were always here,
right? But they're gone like that. Did you want to say something?
No.
Okay. And that was during a Saturn and Pisces era, and Saturn just re-entered Pisces, like because it's retrograde right now. And then with Uranus and Gemini, the last Uranus and Gemini was during World War II. And this is when the nightly news was like a thing. This is when news broadcasts started. And what we're seeing now is news obviously being it's like literally being censored.
Yep.
So, and, Google and all of these tech companies investing in AI and surveillance kind of go hand in hand now. So if we know that the United States is just becoming what it always was, like even with full force, it's not even like trying to slap on a pride flag anymore. It's like, how can we then, knowing the pattern, right, having pattern recognition, how can then we create parallel systems in order for us to start like divesting in capitalism and relying on this empire until it eventually collapses, which it will. I think it's going to break apart. I think the United States is going to become like
amorphous.
Like smaller mini nations within the United States.
Is there anything that strengthens them when they do these actions on the same day during the same time as they were done 250 years ago? Like, is there any merit to, like, they have their own astrologers and they know that doing
The United States was founded by Freemasons, and they were into astrology and geomancy. So, like, when you go to Washington, D.C., they have an obelisk, the same obelisk that you would find in Egypt.
But what is the obelisk? It is the Washington Memorial.
Yes, exactly. It's a conduit for energy. And then this is going to sound like conspiracy theorist, but it's not. Like, Ronald Reagan used an astrologer.
Yes.
He specifically announced things when it wasn't Mercury retrograde. And Trump and his staff definitely use astrology. And so when you pass something on July 4th, 2025, there's energy behind it. So none of this is a coincidence.
None of this.
So how can we use astrology? Because there's, different types of astrology. There's like divinatory, there's electional, which you pick auspicious dates. There's world astrology. How can we use astrology to our benefit for organizing, for protests, right?
How can we?
I mean, honestly, like, I've tried to reach out to the global Samud Flotilla people because I'm like, the first time they launched that flotilla was a totally bad time astrologically. I
remember you saying this. We were on a walk and you were like,
I was like, Amanda, do you know anyone on the team? And I was like, even the day that they picked this last time, August 31st, was just a bad day astrologically. And I think they got caught in some weather moment that they couldn't leave.
That they couldn't bounce.
Yes.
And apparently, like, it's like, I did a live with Greg Stoker the other day. He was like, yeah, it's going to take us like 2 to 3 weeks to get there because we're on sailboats.
Yes. And if you think about ancient astrology, this is like a practice that's thousands of years old. Okay. People used it to conquer and colonize people over the ocean. So there are actually auspicious dates and times you can pick for protected sea travel and breaking the siege, like there are things like that I'm just like, why aren't these people using an astrologer?
Why aren't these people using an astrologer? What are some other spaces where you feel like astrology is looked at, like frowned upon, but could actually be not frowned upon, but like kind of like, ignored, where you think it could actually be very helpful?
Everything. Like, I use astrology to launch my businesses. I use it to take a bath. There's all this magic you can do that people are just sleeping on. And meanwhile, politicians are using it. Like, for sure, Israel is using, they're using astrology and magic. The nation of Israel has a birth chart, and its ascendant is on this fixed star called Spica, and it's a very benefic star.
What does benefic mean? Benefic?
Benefic is it will produce fortunes. Okay, it's
Oh, like
prosperous.
beneficial.
Yeah, beneficial.
Okay.
And we have to get out of this binary of good or bad. Of course, there's like evil, there's dark and light, but they are using the benefic essence of Spica for their benefit, right? And the United States chart in and of itself, the sun, their sun, which is a Cancer, is conjunct the fixed star Sirius. So you think about how the United States was able to be such a massive empire over 250 years. Like that's a short amount of time to essentially have all of these military bases around the world. Like there's no place on earth you can go where the US has not landed on its shores. You know what I mean? So they obviously pick this time to sign a contract, the Declaration of Independence, on that specific time and date for a reason.
I want to just make a point real quick. Those of you who are in my comments, if I feel like you are in any way being rude to my guest, I will remove you. That is your warning. If you want to disagree, do so in respect. I don't want to see snideness. I don't want to see sarcasm. I don't want to see anything that even feels like I got to address you. So if I see it again, I'm going to have you removed. I won't even wait for Rolando. Carry on.
Wow, I can't even see the comments. So,
No, because someone was like, I'm pretty sure that Israel is not using the stars. They're actually using weapons. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. It's not astrology. And it's like, if you're unable to see beyond the limitations of your own mind, that's your own problem, right? However, what I'm trying to encourage people to do on a regular basis, Laura, is to really ask yourself, like, if I can't understand what that person is saying, let me ask myself what is limiting that, and then do research into that. So here's a good example. On the thing I did for Jubilee, each individual person that came to me and spoke their piece, I listened to with a blank slate. I want to understand what you're saying. And then I will ask myself, what is preventing me from being able to like accept, right? Like, or go along with what they're saying. And every time it was because what they're saying is not the truth. It's just not the truth. And I actually know the truth to debunk this. But sometimes people will listen to an astrologer, listen to someone like me who's a philosopher, and they'll just like be like, no, what you're saying is not, no, I don't go along with it. And it's like, what is the reason why you're not able to even consider? It's usually fear.
Yeah.
It's usually fear, or it's because you have a very rigid framework of what you think exists.
Yeah.
And I believe in magic.
I always say that it's not a system you believe in, it's a system that you learn. And people believe in capitalism. People believe in all sorts of stuff that doesn't make any sense to me personally. I always say, like, I think the greatest gift we can give ourselves is to break our minds open, because there's so much we don't know. And yes, it's easy to be in our echo chambers, right? And it's uncomfortable when people disagree with us, or they bring up some form of information that we didn't previously know, or it challenges our current belief systems. But I think right now it's important to have these conversations, especially listen to people that maybe you don't really understand, and maybe you could learn something. I don't know. I think intellectualism is going down in the United States. We're becoming dumber. And I think that's a real tragedy, because I think that there's so much more to learn. Like even in astrology, I'm taking an astrology class and I'm like my mind is being blown every day. And having a beginner's mind, I think, is also going to get us through this.
Well, we've got some questions from folks.
Okay.
Yes. So Seelan says, Miss Chung, with Neptune moving into Aries and Uranus shifting into Gemini, what shifts should we expect in leadership, activism, and communication?
Great question. So the Neptune moving into Aries can be this kind of idolization of leaders, right? There's this amazing book, Let This Radicalize You by Mariam Kaba. She has this whole section in there about like not pedestaling activists, because we live in this culture that is so obsessed with celebrities. You know, you and Logan spoke about it with Greta Thunberg and these influencers on the Flotilla. No one's saving anybody, okay? Like, none of these people on this flotilla are saving Palestinians. They are saving themselves vis-a-vis the resistance. We are co-conspirators and walking hand in hand, doing our part in the underbelly of empire. Everyone needs to like step off their pedestal, okay? Like humble yourself. I think that's what needs to happen in Neptune and Aries. And also Neptune and Aries, like I said, is about the imagination and dream. And since Neptune entered Aries in March, we've had sinners, we have K-pop demon hunters, the ability of music to transcend
my little soda pop.
And film being able to tell stories in a way that kind of breaks through everyone's trance, right? Because Neptune can also be the trance that we're in. With Uranus and Gemini, every Uranus and Gemini period that also coincided with the Neptune and Aries and the Pluto and Aquarius moments that we're in right now, with every technological advancement, there have been back-to-back wars. Like every technological advancement, there have been some sort of like because of war. You know what I mean? Like, so World War II was a Uranus and Gemini period. That was when the atomic bomb was created.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So like AI right now, maybe?
Yeah, AI is going to be our thing right now, and surveillance. The one before that, I think, was when they invented Morse code and like the beginnings of our communication.
Yes.
And I also think
that's where the term smooth operator comes from?
Oh, I did not know that.
Smooth operator comes from somebody who was really good at doing Morse code on like the telegram machine, but like doing it really smooth, like that's where the term smooth operator. That also was something I learned in the Gilded Age documentary on PBS.
Yeah, PBS and NPR they're canceled, right?
Well, they lost their government funding. But they're currently funded because of viewers.
Okay, great. So that is a Uranus and Gemini period because, like I mentioned, the last one was when broadcasting news became a thing. So also, I just wanted to mention with Pluto and Aquarius, it also is technological advances as well. That the last one was when the cotton gin was invented, and that also amplified the Industrial Revolution, but also chattel slavery. And I think now in our period, it's about like the minerals in the Congo and our technology. So again, seeing what the empire is using these transits for, we can then not buy the new iPhone,
right?
And like boycott, boycott,
and like stop,
divest, yes, BDS essentially.
We have another question. People got questions for you. Girl. Miss Laura, what books or resources can a beginner use to get more familiar with the planets and the energy they give off?
Ooh. I know that a lot of people use the Chani app, but I think you have to pay for it. That's a beginner's. I like listening to different types of astrologers. So my background is Hellenistic astrology, which is more like traditional astrology. And now I'm starting to study Dr. Ali Alomi's work, and he does a lot of like decolonizing astrology work because, believe it or not, Western astrology has its roots from West Asia. Babylon, and what we know as like the Middle East.
Yeah.
So the Western astrology, I think a lot of people think like it began in Europe or like, but it actually began in West Asia.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Next question. Miss Chung, how do you cope personally with knowing things ahead of time, like the timing of the flotilla leaving, but knowing that you can't change it?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I think it's just with like everything in life, I try to focus on what I can control, which is regulating my body, which is how I react to things, and also doing what I can and in my capacity, because knowing what's going to happen, and it is really frustrating, I have to be honest with you. The reason why Nepal, what's happening in Indonesia, what happened in Korea with the martial law isn't happening in the United States is because of racism. Like, we don't have healthcare. We don't have universal healthcare because of white supremacy, essentially.
Not even essentially. Like, that's why.
They
were like, if everyone has it, that means blacks have it, so no one can have it.
Exactly. No, that's exactly what it is. I like, there's no sugarcoating that. They don't want Black people to have universal health care, so nobody can have it. So unless we grapple with that, I feel like our collectivist future it's really far away. And so it's really difficult for me because, again, like I'm from a collectivist culture, so I'm like, why can't we get it together? Like, here, why can't people like let go of liberalism and capitalism?
I feel like people here don't feel like they share the same fight. Like, I feel like a lot of Koreans like feel like they share the same fight, right? Like, I've heard people say, well, Korea is homogenous, so it's different because the United States is not homogenous. And I think that, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but it just feels like in Korea, there's like a shared history that people feel like is a shared history. And though, depending on your class, it would determine like kind of where you exist in that history. It's still like, yeah, but we all have this history. Whereas in the United States, like, we're constantly having history like disassembled, like it's being interpreted, quote unquote. Like in Korea, like I feel like there's a shared knowledge of like, yeah, Japan came over here and was fucking with us. The US came over here and was messing with us. Whereas like in the US, there just is like not a shared, unified feeling of struggle. Does that make sense?
Yes. Like, we don't have a shared culture. We don't have a shared spirituality. We don't have anything except for capitalism. I would have to say, like, for sure, the people in Korea, they kind of like put all of their issues aside and said, this is bigger than just ourselves. So we have to come together. I don't necessarily know about Korean Americans because I read that like 64% of Korean Americans in Georgia voted for Trump. Yeah. And I think that is the alignment to whiteness and the model minority myth of it all. So I can't speak to, because there's like Koreans of the diaspora, right? Especially Koreans who, because everyone also thinks Koreans are rich, but that's just not the case, There is a class war in Korea. Like, there's a huge gap. I mean, that was the whole premise of Squid Games and Parasite. Yeah. So I think for the Koreans in the United States, our work is to let go of whiteness. What the heck? Like, you're not white. I'm sorry to say, but like. and align ourselves to the global majority and like stop dividing like our movements, and I get to say that because I'm Korean American, so I get to call out my own people. I can only observe what happens in Korea, the motherland, from here. and only comment on that. But I can only really speak to the Korean American plight.
Yeah. We're gonna get into one more question.
Okay.
Okay, we just did that one.
I hope I answered these questions.
Can astrology help with finding one's purpose or next steps as it relates to life decision?
Yes, it can. And your birth chart really tells you your potential and who you are, but also the people in your life, right? And then you can learn about transits and how different, everybody has a different timing and cycle of their life, which I think astrology is ultimately so helpful, because what colonization did to all of us was take our time, which is our most valuable resource.
And so it took our time?
Yeah, it took our time. Because time is not real. Okay, people might have a problem with this. Time is not linear, and capitalism and colonization made us believe that it is. And so when we understand astrology, and all of our indigenous cosmologies and spiritualities had some sort of relationship with the stars. So once we understand that, we understand that everybody has a different timing of their life. And so Amanda, as a 44-year-old woman, like, you definitely have a different timing than other 44-year-old women, you know, like it doesn't make you less than or more than. It is what it is. And so owning that also, I feel like gives us so much confidence, because it's like, oh, I'm only listening to my own timeline.
Like, I've always known that I'm going to live to 80. But I think I only know that because I have like I feel like I'm tapped into something else around timelines. But I'm going to live to 80s. And I've always said it's going to be very annoying. I'm going to be here like, ugh.
Yeah.
Please. I'm going to be on my goat sanctuary. And
yes, but you're going to be this like badass elder.
I will be a badass elder, but I hope that when it's time to go, it's either laughing or, you know, like I get like run over by a donkey or something. Like I'm doing something I really love. But the timing thing, that I never thought of it that, like, I thought of it in the way of like time theft and in the sense of like wage theft, or like the fact that they take our time because we have to work 8 hours a week, right? And in the Gilded era, during the Gilded Age, they worked 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, which is nuts. Which is also, by the way, why people don't understand how much the labor movement gave to us in terms of time. Like, we only work this time because there was a labor movement that was like, y'all got to stop working people to death. So then how does astrology help you know your timeline? Right? Because that was a person they were asking, like, can astrology help you in like decisions and stuff? And so you were saying that everyone has like their kind of timing. How does astrology help someone identify their timing?
Yeah. So we have a birth chart, right? So it's like the snapshot of the celestial bodies at the moment of your birth. And so everybody's is unique. There's no two birth charts that are the same. So there's something called annual perfections. Every year of your life, you have a different focus of your life and a different planetary time lord. And then we have secondary progressions. Like, there's different timing techniques in astrology that kind of like point to a theme in your life and what you're going to focus on. And so, for example, you're 44, and so you are in a 9th house annual perfection year. And the 9th house in astrology is about publishing, right? So this is a good year to publish your book. This is a good year to travel to foreign lands and foreign, places. This is a good year to learn astrology, it's the house of astrology. It's the house of God. So learning about different spiritual modalities and philosophies, learning about divination and your own indigenous spiritual practices. So like, there's all these different timing techniques that kind of give a clue as to like what your life is trying to point towards at the moment. Did I answer that?
Yeah, you did. Would you want to share what yours is saying right now about you?
Oh, woof. We're in eclipse season, y'all. We're in the middle of 2 eclipses. And so this is a time of, like, I would say dramatic endings and beginnings. So if y'all are going through it, this is eclipses. This is just like, and I know, you know, like a lot of people are probably experiencing this without eclipses, but just from like where we are. And so for me personally, I'm in an 8th house year, and an 8th house year is about death and like endings, right?
Yeah.
So I'm personally, and you were in that last year because you were 43. I'm 43. So this is a year for me to kind of like go through this death process of the person I was to then be the person.
I did go through that. Okay. Is that everyone? Is like 43 that for most people?
Yes.
Oh, I did go through that. That's
what
that was about.
Yes.
Rough.
Yeah. And the eclipses are happening in my
handling it.
10th and 4th. And so the eclipses are happening in my 10th and 4th houses. So obviously, like, I'm coming out fully in who I am, which is an astrologer. And that's not something that's acceptable to my family. My mom was like, Laura, you really being an astrologer after you have your master's in psychology? And I'm like, yeah. So the topics of my family and career are coming together in this eclipse season. I know, it's like...
Because I know this conversation happens a lot.
Like, oh my gosh. Yes, I'm a daughter of immigrant parents. So they just want me to, you know, have financial safety and security. And I get that. Love you. But also it's come to a point where it's so beyond that now. Like I have to heed the call of my spirit and using astrology to help people organize, heal, point people in the right direction of what they're being called to do. Because now more than ever, we cannot sit on our dreams. Like we cannot sit on our creativity. We have to bring it out, especially when empire is falling apart, you know?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I feel like everybody is just very enriched by this conversation. And, you know, one of the things you said earlier was just like the hopefulness, right? Like there's got to be kind of just like a certain level of hopefulness, or else like, what's it for? You know, like I was like angry on Instagram yesterday, and people were like, we're cooked. And I'm like, no, we're not cooked.
No.
We're just complacent. You know,
we're not cooked.
No,
we are so far from cooked. It's like not even funny. I just want to laugh at that. We have never been this technologically connected in our entire lives. We have never been more like, we have never had this much access to information and each other. We are so not cooked. Please do not fall into this cycle of despair. Let this radicalize you, because that's exactly what they want. And we can only, they can only take our power because we concede it, right? Like we don't even realize how powerful we are. And that when we are fully awakened and we are in alignment with our purpose and we find each other, we are unstoppable. So don't let this despair you.
Where can people get more Laura Chung in their lives? Are you doing readings yet? Are you charging for, like, what's going on?
Yes. Okay. So I have all the tiers. Right. So I am teaching astrology, learn how to read your birth chart starting October 6th. And it's a 12-week class. We meet once a week for 2 hours. So by the end of it, you will learn how to read your natal chart.
And where can you get this information at?
All on my website.
LauraChung.com?
Yeah, laurakchung.com. And then if you want to watch my weekly astrology forecast where we I talk about the astrology and also what's happening in the world. I have a YouTube. It's once a week. You could subscribe to my Patreon. I dusted that off. And I do readings. And so many of your listeners became my clients. So thank you all. You're all so amazing. Such amazing people.
I love it. Someone was like, can Laura come to the summit next weekend? I mean, it's open for her if she wants to attend. So, you know, we're just putting it out there.
We'll talk offline.
We'll talk offline. We'll chat offline. So y'all, LauraKChung.com. Thank you so much for being so generous with your knowledge and with these insights. And I am someone who definitely believes that, you know, intellect does not come in one form. And it definitely doesn't only come in the form of this colonialist academia that we have subscribed to. So I appreciate you sharing your intellect of the stars and planets with us. And you all make sure you go to LauraKChung.com.
Thank you. Bye.
Wow. That was soups cool. Ah, man, that was super cool, guys. I hope that you go to LauraKChung.com and get more into it. All right. We have Small Doses episode new. What kind of sentence was that? That was an Al Sharpton sentence. This week's new episode of Small Doses podcast is Side Effects of Forcefulness, featuring historian and author and professor Kelly Carter Jackson. And check it out. What is the biggest misconception that you feel people have about Black resistance?
That it's criminal. That anytime you see someone engaged in defiance, what they are doing is illegal and needs to be like prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Or that if it's not criminalized, it's immoral. We shouldn't be doing this. Yeah, that's what happened. Black resistance gets a bad rap.
What's one thing you said in this episode that you stand 10 toes down on?
Coalition building. I think coalition building is so important. We cannot do this work alone. We cannot do this work in isolation. It is an all hands on deck approach. And that is the only way we're going to get free.
So make sure you check out Kelly Carter Jackson joining me this week on Small Doses Podcast. It was an incredible episode. I was also like fangirling with how lovely she is. And I'm really obsessed with that book. She also, her first book, Force and Freedom, is really about the abolitionist era. And we talk about in the interview how she was saying that we really have not done a lot of I feel like we talk about the civil rights era as like a resource for, what we can be doing right now. And we very rarely talk about the abolitionist era. And that was her specialty. And so I was like, you know what? It's true. I really don't know that much about the abolitionist era, whether it's John Brown or Search of Truth or Frederick Douglass, etc. So I was really happy that we were able to have that conversation and expand people's knowledge, around it. Now, I will tell you all, expansion of knowledge ends up forcing you to include it in other areas of your life. And I am in the process of writing and publishing What Would the Ancestors Say, my one-woman show. And this weekend, I did a live reading of What Would the Ancestors Say at the People's Forum in New York. And the reason it's different than what the shows was before was because this weekend, I was reading what I have written. So before I was freestyling, I had bullet points, I was developing. However, now I sat down and I put pen to the page. And this interview with Kelly Carter Jackson really helped me to expand the space around my conversation in the play between Frederick Douglass and Clarence Thomas. And I am so appreciative to everybody who joined in the live stream as well as in person to, support me in this process, because this is a piece of work. I haven't really put this much time into a work since Small Doses, the book. where I've had like enough energy, like I really haven't had enough time to like really like lean in. And my memoir, I feel like, is the only other thing. But even with that, it was like I was being rushed. So now I'm really excited about the next phase of this. And like, honestly, I can't wait to get off the live today because I have work to do and I have to get this thing published and I have to get you guys your shirts, etc. Now we're going to get into our Blackerate news. I got some stories to talk to you all about. Are you still with me? Because it is 12:30 here at Views from AmandaLand. And for those of you all who are just joining us, I want to know where you are joining us from to wake up on the right side of history. Yeah. Tell me where you're watching from. It's halfway through the show, and it's time to find out where y'all at. AmandaLanders here to learn. Come on, drop in and tell me where you're watching from. North Carolina, Chicago, F-Ice, yes, doing laundry in Brooklyn, Oakland, California, Harlem, St. Louis, Missouri, Northern VA, San Jose, California, Kansas City, Kenya, Jumbo, Massachusetts, Salt Lake City, Detroit 313. We got Nashville, Tennessee, Panama City, Florida, Washington Heights, West Palm Beach, Florida, Sweden, Dayton, Ohio, Long Beach, California, Miami, Cincinnati, Ohio, Manhattan. We got RVA, El Bronx, Upper West Side, New York City, downtown LA, Hamilton Heights, Harlem, Atlantic City, New Jersey, United Kingdom. Watching from Isabel said she's playing hooky. Shout out to everybody who is playing hooky from work today who said, I'm gonna stay home, I'm shutting it down. We're gonna talk about shutting it down because France said we're shutting it down, and we're gonna get into that with the critical thinking exercise. For those of y'all who are just joining us, I want to remind you that we had Logan Larice earlier for our 60-second headlines. We talked about Zohran Mamdani and why we have issue with his capitulation to the Israeli constituency in New York City. We also talked about the Global Summit Flotilla, and we talked about this recent Supreme Court ruling that says that profiling is fine, that it is completely okay to harass people by simply how they look or if they're speaking another language. I don't think people understand just how pervasive and let invasive that is. And it is going to require you to eventually have to put your voice, your freedom, and your safety on the line. Let me not say you, us. That's what it's going to require. I love that Rolando is playing hooky at work. I appreciate it. Let's get into our Blackerate news.
Blackerate news. Politics. Blackerate news. Pop. Culture. Blackerate news. Sports. Blackerate news. Justice.
All right. Our first story in our Blackerate news is about the Cop City RICO case being dismissed. I don't know if you all heard about the Cop City protesters in Atlanta, but they really have not been playing around. Okay. The Cop City protesters in Atlanta have been so vocal for years now about trying to shut down the building of this massive training center in Atlanta that's also being built on protected land that is for the purpose of estuary and I don't know if it's an estuary, but it is for the purpose of greenery in the location. Yesterday, September 9th, 2025, Fulton County, Georgia Judge Kevin Farmer said that he will toss the racketeering charges against all 61 defendants accused of a years-long conspiracy to halt the construction of Cop City. I want you all to understand, these people tried to charge protesters who had organized with a RICO charge. You know, the same racketeering and RICO charge that they use against the mob? Organized crime. They charged organizers who were working together to stop the building of Cop City, which has not been supported by the people of Atlanta. They tried to charge them with the crime. There's other charges that I will get to. Now, Cop City is the name for this training center for cops and firefighters. It's supposed to be built on 85 acres of South River Forest. Now, for the record, the expansion of these places and the eradication of these forest lands is a large reason for why we are also seeing so much flooding, so much damaging of property and of homes. When we see the flooding that has been happening in Atlanta last year and this year, largely in part, it's because this forest has been raised, and it used to be a place where water would get trapped. And so it didn't go down into where the residential areas were. It's the same way that Katrina was able to really ravage, the lower wards off of Lake Pontchartrain, because so much of their swampland has been ruined due to fracking. And it was that swampland and the trees and the mangroves that were preventing flooding happening. There's a mangrove that was removed in Grenada, dug in St. David's and La Sagesse, and it's going to cause the same problem. Remember, I said it. So this training area is going to include a mock city for urban warfare. By the way, they have one of these in Israel that is a mock city of Palestine or Jerusalem, where they practice killing Palestinians. Jerry Seinfeld has been there, as well as Steven Tyler of Aerosmith. They literally go there and pretend to kill Palestinians. They've also got firing ranges, burn towers, and emergency vehicle courses. So the defendants who have been fighting to halt this, they faced allegations of everything from throwing Molotov cocktails at police officers to supplying food to protesters. Look at the range of that. They were also camped in the woods and passing out flyers against a state trooper who had fatally shot a protester. That protester was Tortuguita. Tortuguita has the unfortunate claim as being the first environmental activist in modern history to be shot and killed by the police. That was my moment of silence for Tortuguita. So these organizers said, we got to get everybody behind this. So they got thousands, I think it was like 6,000 signatures from the community of people against this. These people, I think it's the city council, ended up subsequently doxing everyone who signed the petition and released their names and addresses. I'm not sure if it released their addresses, but it definitely released their names. How is this legal? It's actually not. But, sorry, wedgie. But what do we do? This is why it's so frustrating when people are put in office, because there is no recourse when they do illegal behaviors, yet they immediately criminalize us exercising our actual rights. Unfortunately, this is not over. 5 of the 61 defendants have also been indicted on charges of domestic terrorism. They claim that there was a night of rage. Masked activists burned a police car in downtown Atlanta and threw rocks at a skyscraper that houses the Atlanta Police Foundation. Masked activists, huh? And because they made a RICO charge, they're basically saying that whether or not these people were physically there, they were a part of the organization. Thus, they are culpable. Accessories, if you will. So this judge said he does not believe Republican Attorney General Chris Carr had the authority to secure the 2023 indictments under Georgia's RICO law. Experts believe it was the largest criminal racketeering case ever filed against protesters in U.S. history. Unreal, honestly. So speaking of organizing, the actors are boycotting Israel. Yeah, The actors are finally saying out loud, we're not gonna take it. No, we're not gonna take it. We're not gonna take it anymore. So 1,800 filmmakers and actors have pledged not to work with Israeli film institutions complicit in war crimes. Here's some of the more famous ones. You got Riz Ahmed there. You got Susan Sarandon, Mark Ruffalo, Ayo Ediberi. We'll talk about her in a sec. We got Cynthia Nixon, Ava DuVernay, Javier Bardem. And it only took 2 years. So this is the pledge. As filmmakers, actors, film industry workers, and institutions, we recognize the power of cinema to shape perceptions. In this urgent moment of crisis, where many of our governments are enabling the carnage in Gaza, we must do everything we can to address complicity in that unrelenting horror. The world's highest court, the International Court of Justice, has ruled that there is a plausible risk of genocide in Gaza and that Israel's occupation and apartheid against Palestinians are unlawful. Standing for equality, justice, and freedom for all people is a profound moral duty that none of us can ignore. So too, we must speak out now against the harm done to the Palestinian people. We answer the call of Palestinian filmmakers who have urged the international film industry to refuse silence, racism, and dehumanization, as well as to do everything humanly possible to end complicity in their oppression. Inspired by filmmakers united against apartheid who refused to screen their films in apartheid South Africa, we pledge not to screen films, appear at, or otherwise work with Israeli film institutions, including festivals, cinemas, broadcasters, and production companies that are implicated in genocide and apartheid against the Palestinian people. By the way, examples of complicity include whitewashing or justifying genocide and apartheid. So watch your mouths, and or partnering with the government committing them. Answers to frequently asked questions about this pledge can be found. If you are a film worker, you can join us, the more than 1,800 others who have signed this pledge, by clicking that button below. Now, y'all know your girl is absolutely on the list. There I am, right between Alyssa Milano and Ambika Ahmad. Okay. Some other folks. But I want to point out, though, that like, even if you don't recognize people's names on here, anyone who is putting their name on here is understanding that their name is being seen in a space that is considered a dangerous space. So it's not just the celebrities. Like, these lists are being looked at, these lists are being reviewed, and people are being blacklisted, like in a very real way, which is why it is required now more than ever that all you independent creatives, all of you funders who have all this excess bread, like, this is when you need to be getting in the music. I mean, in the television business. Okay. Like in the film business, this is when we need to be creating spaces that are devoid of this infiltration of Zionism. This is an active necessity. You know, there was so many artistic spaces that were created because of racism that literally were forced to be birthed to still have a home for this art. In this era, we have to create these spaces because we need to be in spaces that are not tainted with Zionism, racism, and capitalism in this way. And I say in this way because we still haven't figured out how to do it without capitalism. I mean, I'm doing it, but ultimately it's gonna boil down to making choices for creating spaces that you may not even see yourself in. And that's what community is. Like, even if I'm not a gardener, if I can help create a space for people to garden that will help enrich my community, then I need to do that. That's something that not enough of us really do. But when it comes to the case of art, that's a real one that I think people just kind of ignore. They're like, oh, I'm not an artist or whatever. Listen, we need patronage. We need that support. You all are 100% what is keeping my work alive. And that is the most safest resource out there. You know, like that's what makes me know that these Zionists can't shut me down. I'm supported by the people. You shutting down all the people? I find that very difficult to believe. I find it very difficult to believe. I'm also a big believer that what you put out there will come back to you. And I think it's really imperative that we stand on business when we see other people standing on business. I've told y'all the story of when I broke up that domestic violence fight in the train station. And when I was done, I turned around, there was a little Dominican woman standing behind me with grocery bags. And she was like, and that's what I needed. All I needed was her just to stand there. It's like, yeah, I'm here physically as a presence. As a presence. And yes, Aja, you better say that. People may not be artists, but everyone consumes art in some shape, way, or form. So it is really dope that all of these folks have come together and put their names on this list. It's 1,800 names as of right now, and I hope that it expands because we know that we have not moved past racism as it exists in the nation, particularly in the world, and especially in the art space. When we see what happened to Ayo Ediberi at a recent promo run in Venice for her new movie, After the Hunt. Let's take a look, because this has been going viral.
What we lost during the politically correct era and what we have to expect in Hollywood after the Me Too movement and the Black Lives Matters are done. The two of you, Andrew and...
I need y'all to understand that my favorite part of this video is that Andrew Garfield... Andrew Garfield, that man launched out of his seat and had to physically turn his entire body. He had to literally recalibrate his entire energy and positioning. Let's continue.
Well, okay.
So note that the question was directed specifically to Andrew and Julia. Yes, Zoo said Andrew is a real one. Yes, Andrew is a real one, and he has voiced that he is pro-Palestine. Now, Ayo is the one who starts talking, though, because she's like, say word, but now the Queen Julia will take over.
Can you repeat that? And I with your sunglasses on, I can't tell which of us you're talking to. So
shade. She shaded the shades. Okay. So let's acknowledge that she shaded the shades with your sunglasses on, AKA with you being in here with sunglasses on like a podcast bro and acting all unprofessional. Nobody here knows whom you're addressing, because you can't possibly be only addressing me and Andrew, because that wouldn't make no sense considering the contents of your question.
So the question was for Julia and Andrew. Now that the Me Too era and the Black...
Okay, I want y'all to see the emotions that Ayo is going through during this time. First is...
Andrew. Now that the...
Say what?
Me Too era and...
Do y'all see this? I feel like she found the one other Black person in the room and made a vibranium, OPVMC, and optical. I feel like she connected to the optical vibranium connection with somebody in that room.
And the Black Lives Matters are done. What we have to expect in Hollywood.
Then she makes that smile, because that's that smile of like, this is you for real? And by the way, when you see a Black woman make that face, that's also danger. That's also danger.
And what we lost, if we lost something with the political...
Now the hands start to rub like Baby from Cash Money.
Correct era.
Well, it's not done. Sorry, I know that's...
I'm gonna chime in here. Now, I want to remind you all that Julia Roberts's parents' maternity bills were paid for by Dr. Martin Luther King and Coretta. Yes. So Julia Roberts is literally born from the civil rights movement. Okay? Let's listen to Ayo.
It's not for me, and I don't know if it's purposeful if it's not me, but
I feel like she was way too generous right here, but that's because she's new. She's still a young woman, but I do believe in 10 years from now, she would respond to this much differently.
Just am curious. I don't think it's done. I agree
It's
with
not
you,
done.
I don't think it's done at all. I think maybe hashtags might not be used as much, but I do think that there's work being done by activists, by people every day. That's beautiful, important work. That's not finished. That's really, really, really active for a reason, because this world is really charged.
Yeah.
And that work isn't finished at all. Maybe if there's like not mainstream coverage in the way that there might have been
daily headlines
in the way that it might have been 8 or so years ago, but I don't think that it means that the work is done. That's what I would say.
And that the movements have been halted anyway.
Yeah.
Now, this is why we also, though, need to understand that they're still promoting a movie, so they're only going to keep it, cute. Reese adds that the Italian journalist that asked her that question, Federica Polidoro, has doubled down on why she was in the right to ask the question and defended her position by her upbringing. Of course she would double down. Any white woman that would come out their face and ask that question is going to double down on it. She asked it twice. We are in the 1 o'clock hour, y'all. I just thought this was so wild. And I really feel like a lot of people don't understand that these movements are not new. They are simply just expanded iterations. It's like if you are listening to a symphony, you are going to have different parts of the symphony. Right? You're going to have, I don't know why I can't think of the word right now. Somebody's going to say it in the chat. You're going to have throughout the course of this entire piece of work, there will be different arrangements. There will be different, I'm stuck in a metaphor that I can't expand on because I'm missing a particular vocab word. Movements! Aha! Oh, wow. That makes sense. Within a symphony, there's going to be different movements. Oh, my gosh. That was like, oh, hello. And within movements, there are different movements. Because the whole movement is a part of a long symphonic effort towards racial harmony. Ooh, towards human harmony. We are still in the continued effort to get there. So no kidding. So shout out to Ayo Ediberi. The film is called After the Hunt. The reporter said that she asked her that and that she's allowed to ask her that because she is black. The reporter said she was allowed to ask this question in the way she asked it because she got black friends. Oh my God, someone is tuning in from Botswana? We definitely don't have Botswana on the map, y'all. Let's add Botswana. Wow. Okay, real question though. Are y'all gonna buy my book when it come out? Are y'all gonna buy my play? What would the ancestors say? I'm starting to get nervous. I'm starting to get nervous. So I want to let you all know that there'll be a lot of different items available for sale at the pop-up shop for AmandaLand Exports that will be taking place at the AmandaLand Summit this weekend. So you'll be able to get prints of my artwork. You'll be able to get some different totes and pouches that I haven't had available for sale. You'll be able to get pins that are unreleased. And you'll also be able to get my first book, which is my poetry book, Young Skin, Wise Mind, Old Soul. So that will actually be available for sale. And I'm really excited to kind of like bring this into the space. So it will be Isabel. Oh yeah, it'll be available in 3 different forms online. So it'll be available as a physical book, it'll be available as a audio book, and it will be available as a digital, as an ebook. So what would the ancestors say is coming at ya? And let's get into our critical thinking exercise before we close out for the day. Let's get it. So today's critical thinking exercise is all about where is the working class rage in the United States. But I want y'all to watch this video to take a guess, to take a listen at a possible reason for why.
Why are we not seeing working class anger?
Because unions wasn't just about increasing your pay. Unions were great educators, political educators. It was an idea of collective activity and collective suffering. Now, you find increasingly, and I find this all the time, working class people not doing very well tend to say, it's my fault, really. They've internalized the American sort. And then you forget this in America too. I had the chance if I tried harder at school. And they don't ever stop and say, and actually, you know, my school didn't really give me the chance, or my background didn't give me the chance. They don't think collectively. They do think that every person is responsible for their own destiny.
But in an inheritocracy, where's that sort of anger? Why?
We're not honest about it. People may not know about it very much. They may not realise the extent to which 1/3 of all first-time buyers are parents to help them. And I think, sadly, people have really internalised it.
I thought that was such a great conversation, because it's so real. So many of us have internalized the lie. Hold on. So many of us have internalized the lie that our inability to gain access to certain spaces that we've been actively kept out of is our fault. We saw it in the Jubilee episode that I was a part of, where you had all of these people that were very actively pushing this rhetoric that, well, if I figured it out, why can't everybody else? Not acknowledging that you may have had particular tools that allowed you to figure it out that simply were unique to you, but that should not have been the reason why somebody else couldn't get there. You shouldn't require those particular tools if it's actually available to everybody. I have had to be perfect to get to where I'm at in many ways that should not have been required. So when we talk about working class rage and we talk about where we are in the United States now and how there is so much effort being put down in the last 6 months, I mean, it's been put down before, but it's been really put down in the last 6 months to really create destitution for the working class, we have to ask ourselves, well, why is it that here in the United States, our version of standing up for ourselves looks one way, but in other places, it looks another way? I want to show you all this video to just see the stark contrast in a real way, because I don't think enough of us can really grasp how disparate the difference is. Hold on 1 second.
Government steps in to save them. Farmers have no one to turn to but God.
Farmers, in my opinion, dear Lord, and it's only my opinion, are closer to thee than anyone else on this earth.
You support an alleged pedophile.
nous exigeons à l'État congolais au niveau de Kinshasa le départ du général Gassita. Et là, je dois préciser parce que nous sommes en train de vivre beaucoup de rumeurs qui circulent selon lesquelles Gassita est refusé à Uvira et à Fizi par la simple raison qu'il est Mnyamlenge. Je dois donner des précisions, non. On refuse le général Gassita parce que tout simplement, il est parmi les commandants qui avaient abandonné des zones stratégiques, des zones stratégiques du Sud Kivu. Nous l'avons fait avec Yav, nous l'avons fait avec Gervais et nous allons continuer avec les autres. Nous n'avons pas confiance de tous ces commandants qui avaient abandonné les localités stratégiques au mai 2023.
So what you're seeing is 3 different nations that are responding to their government in 3 different ways, completely different than the United States. So in France, what's going on is that basically France's parliament has not been able to get past a budget. So you know how in the United States they signed the big beautiful bill? Well, they haven't signed anything in France, and they've gone through 4 prime ministers now, and they've gotten on to their 5th in being unable to do this. And because of this, when you don't sign a budget, you don't allocate the funds that people have paid with their taxes to actually run the government. Not allocating those funds puts a stop on not only people being paid to actually work in the government, but it also stops, the grants being given, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is because they're saying that France is in such severe debt that its economy is about to bottom out. Now, what came out of this is a whole movement. All right. The Block Everything movement was born online over the summer, and it started in far right circles, but then it was co-opted by labor unions, united by a common frustration with what they see as a broken political system. So basically, even though they were on the left and the right, everybody was like, this still ain't it. Basically, France said, we don't know what to do. And they said, no, sorry, France's parliament said, we don't know what to do. And the people said, oh, we'll show you. We'll show you what to do. Okay. Now, the socialists who are a part of the parliament have offered a counter budget that would impose a tax of at least 2% on personal wealth greater than 100 million euros. And it would generate savings of 22 billion euros. This proposal would be tough to marry with the pro-business reform agenda of Macron's presidency because, of course, Macron is a bleeding heart capitalist who's also a huge racist and said that Africa should be thanking France for what they've done for them. Get the hell out of here. Side note, someone asked about my book. I'm going to release the book as an ebook, a physical book, and an audio book. Now, what's going on in Nepal is that you have the young generation. They're calling it the Gen Z uprising because the people of Nepal are like, yo, you are not going to try and shut us down. And there was a protest that ended up becoming violent when a police officer when police killed 19,000 people. I'm sorry, when the police killed 19 people in the protests. Then they said, oh, you trying to shoot people? Oh, this is what we about to do. So their prime minister, he stepped down. They turned everything upside down. They burned his palace. They threw members of the parliament in the river. They say, we not playing with y'all. We're not playing with y'all. In the Congo, what they're talking about is that there was like a mayor type person in the Congo who basically did not help the people when the militias came in to harm them. They ran off and was trying to stay protected. And they said, oh, word? All right. You trying to do that? You trying to leave us here to take the L? And then you're going to try and take up space and safety and refuge with them? Nah. Bump that. And anybody else who does that, we coming to get you out of your crib too. So when we see all of these different examples in other countries, we ask ourselves, where is the American rage? Now, I don't think enough people are really willing to have the very literal conversation of the effects of brainwashing on the American society. we have seen, looking at Israel, how brainwashing can be effective, right? You have an entire society that repeats harmful rhetoric that exists in a pathological, sociopathic way. And this has been trained since the onset of their childhood. They have never existed outside of this. I would be curious to find out how many of the folks that have become anti-Zionists are neurodivergent. I would be really curious, because one of the hallmarks of the neurodivergent brain is it is harder to indoctrinate. It's harder to fall into these methods of control that are continuously supplanted on the people. When we're looking at farmers in Oklahoma who are praying, that's how they're handling their situation of possibly losing their farms to the administration they overwhelmingly paid for. They are paying. I mean, they are praying. So what that says to me is you do not feel like you are physically or mentally or emotionally capable of demanding from the people who are doing this to you. How is that possible? Why are you praying to God when these people are the ones who did it? We have to talk about the Democrats when we ask, where is the American rage? So many of you all have heard about the term, why is this, my brain, not organized opposition, but what is, I'll put it in a question form. What is the term that so many people associate with the Democrats in their continuously being obstacles to progression? Controlled opposition. Thank you all. Thank you, Sarah. Controlled opposition. Now, controlled opposition is an oxymoron, isn't it? Because controlled opposition says we're only going to allow opposition within a particular framework, which brings us back to the Overton window that our good friend Logan was referring to earlier on the show. There is a certain framework of acceptable opposition, but anything beyond that becomes problematic. Now, we see that in how we look at folks who are resistance fighters, right? Somehow the H group in Palestine are not resistance fighters, they are terrorists. But when we see resistance fighters in these other places all over the world that genocide has taken place, they're now called resistance fighters in hindsight. The ANC, Nelson Mandela, they were resistance fighters. They weren't doing anything different in terms of their efforts, in terms of their, their mandate, different than the H group. So when we talk about the Democrats, they are controlled opposition. They oppose only to a certain extent, and anything beyond that is seen as anti-fat, is seen as Antifa, right? Or is seen as socialism or communism. It's the reason why we see the language for defund the police shifted. This type of controlled opposition is what allows for administrations like the Trump administration to do what they do. So when we are looking at these other countries and we're seeing the way they're responding, one of the other things we can acknowledge is that, yes, the United States has far more military might than Nepal, right? Than the Congo, and than France. What we can also acknowledge, though, is that the United States has more people who are in the same situation, who have more money, and who have more access to resources. So it ends up, in my opinion, balancing out. And when we say, where is the American rage? I literally mean that. Why aren't more people actually angry at what's taking place? Why aren't more people feeling like they have been done dirty? And it's because, once again, they are internalizing that there is something they could have done. For the fact that there are so many people that are continuously trying to convince me that I am responsible, even partially, for what is happening in the United States with the fascist government, that lets you know that those people who are accusing me of having that individual capability, baby, they think that they have those individual responsibilities. No. There's a certain amount of individualism. There's a certain amount of individualism that is applied to your accountability and your responsibility. However, there are entire infrastructures in place to prevent your advancement. That doesn't make you a victim. That makes you an American. And those infrastructures that are in place will not move if you continue to uphold anything that keeps them in place. And this is why you have people that are talking about all different methods of protest and resistance, whether it's checking your consumerism, whether it's aligning communally, whether it's addressing electoral politics and taking the bottom out from that, whether it's going and running up in these buildings and challenging these folks face to face on what are you actually doing. All of these things, multi-pronged approach, prop up the America that people are too afraid to lose. That's why there is no rage, because they're trying to hold on to something that actually doesn't even have value. And the thing is, they're not even doing their best to hold on to it. They're holding on to a memory. Holding back the tears. They're holding on to a fantasy, not a memory, a fantasy. So please tell me in the comments, why do you feel that there is a lack of American rage? Garden Labyrinth says, maybe most USA in this time don't believe change is possible since even civil rights actions were in their grandparents' youth. Delisa says they don't want to acknowledge or admit it because they voted for it. Hema says, because we have normalized being okay with seeing others suffer as long as it's not me and mine. Nadaleje says, in the USA, folks ask for a permit to protest. Oh my, it's like, what? SMH, from what I gather, folks in other countries don't wait for permission to protest. You better say that. Pamela says, literally talked to my dad a couple months ago about things that are happening and he wasn't even fully aware. Controlled ops. Melissa Dunmore says, great question. I think American rage is subsumed by the lack of American resilience. It's that access to resources and delusion of superiority that keeps people sat the hell down when they ought to stand up. Agreed. Hans St. Louis says, because most of these cowards are so racist, they'll rather destroy a nation than acknowledge what us blacks have been fighting and warning them about. You ain't never lie. They would rather burn the world and rule over its ashes. Rolando says, most Americans have never seen war. They feel like they're immune to violence and other assorted BS. That is a fact. That is a fact. I mean, this is one take on K-pop Demon Hunters. I did not receive this from it, but okay. Nia says, because we have become complacent with materials, because we've been complacent with material things that are ultimately distractions. Scarlett says, fear of losing our own wealth, even if it's small things, pension, etc. Revolution is uncomfortable. Revolution is uncomfortable, which is why Cynthia follows up fear and comfort. We are fearful of what would happen if we truly rise up, and my immediate circle of people I know hold tight to their comfortable homes. So I want you all to think about, what would it take? What do you think it would take to incite American rage? What would American rage look like? We've seen what French rage looks like. We've seen what Nepalese rage looks like. We've seen what Indonesian rage looks like over the past few weeks, Kenyan rage. We've seen what Congolese rage looks like. What does American rage look like to you all? I'm waiting for y'all to get some answers in here in the chat. Lesser says war. Just 3 letters. War. All right. Hema says Karen and friends talking to the White House manager. Okay. RD said Second Amendment meets ICE. Smiley face. Moment with Mel says storming the Capitol. Adrian says, I don't think I've ever seen American rage. Rolando says Teen Spirit. That's me. Chirimacha 1025 says it would look like January 6th, but with the correct political motivations. Isabel says American rage is bottled up and then it eventually pops off. Melissa adds guns, 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 and segregated strongholds. That sounds pretty accurate. Lizzie Pickles, what I'm saying is that they killed 19 people and that's what popped it off. Globalize the Intifada says awareness, Rayan. More people need to be aware that the bubble will pop. The bubble will pop. American rage is a doozy. And I asked you all also, like, what do we think will get the doozy going? Reese says, I think the trigger is ultimately centered on the economics and ultimately the disintegration of the classes. I agree. And an entire loss of prospects will push people over the edge. Apparently, Barron just moved back into the White House, which if that's not symbolic of what this country's on, I don't know what is. Kelsey says, when guns are banned and gas is at $7 in the South. Whew, child. Say that. D. Williams says, I think that American rage will look like what we just saw in Chicago, but across the nation. What did we just see in Chicago? Yes, I'm Troy says, we don't do rage well because so much of what we get mad about is manufactured. When we are confronted by truth, a good number of us fall apart. Five Fight says, I think the trigger will be no more food on store shelves because ICE raids and empty trucker seats. Well, continue to think about this. You know, that's what our critical thinking exercise is about. Not just having the conversation here, but having it after the show. By the way, we will be continuing with our after the show Patreon after show. By $5 with $5, you can subscribe to Patreon and join us after the show for the combo. Sorry, I just had a brain. I was like, zing, 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 zing. AmandaLand. PSA. Something I've had to just really wrap my head around is that I have a head that can be hard for people to wrap around. And what happens so often on the internet is this constant being argued with by people. And I used to really get very frustrated with the arguing. Not to say I still get annoyed with it. But what I'm trying to really ground myself in is the fact that people are arguing because they are being triggered, or not triggered in the sense that, you know, you're being triggered about something negative, but they're being pinged, right? They're arguing because they feel like it is their argument to have. And even in that, I feel like there's change that is happening. There's movement happening in the fact that people are even feeling the need to argue, because there is no version of this that doesn't require exchange and discourse. There is no version of this that doesn't require disagreement and conflict resolution. There isn't. There's no version of this that doesn't require folks having to come to the same table and compromise. It's just that it's typically been one particular group at these table meetings that ends up compromising, whether it's men and women and the women are compromising, or it's black and white and the black people are compromising. Like, there's just, whether it's rich and poorer or poor and the poorer and poor are compromising, like there's always a capitulation, and that dynamic is what's going to have to shift. And not only is that dynamic going to have to shift, but the who is coming to the table is going to have to shift. It can't just be black and white. It can't just be men and women. There are more than just men and women. There's more than just black and white. And what I want us to be actively having conversations about is considering beyond the United States. And I don't just mean considering other countries. I mean considering what you consider to be a country. What do you consider to be a nation? Do you even know what makes a country? Do you even know how one comes to being? Because we've learned how the United States came to be. However, that is not simply the benchmark or the template for everywhere else. And I need you to be clear, like we heard our astrologer, Laura Chung, say, this place ain't gonna last much longer. So where is the vision around what comes in its place? And where are you in that vision? Are you taking orders? Are you being a contrarian? Are you listening intently and adding where you can, but being quiet when you have nothing to add that's valuable? Considering is a revolutionary practice at this point, since so many people are perfectly happy complacing. Since so many people are perfectly happy being complacent. So I encourage you. Every week, I'm going to continue to encourage you to engage in your imagination as it relates to the world you're in and how you can live in it. PSA. Hey! Well, y'all, that's the show. Show your love. Show your love. Show your love. I say, hit me in the cash app, baby. Drop a super, baby. Someone asked for an Into the Woods song. Oh. Not a whole song, but I'll give you a little bit. But it's just my fault. I was okay. But it's my fault. I was given those beans. She persuaded me to trade my cow 4 beans, and without those beans, there would be no stock. Took it up to the giants in the first place. Wait a minute, magic beans for a cow so old that you had to let it sell it with you. Told were they worthless beans? Were they oversold? And tell us who persuaded you to steal that gold? See, it's your fault. See, it's your fault. Yes, it is. It's true, but they only sold the gold give a cow back from you, so it's your fault. Yes, there are giants in the sky. There are big, tall, terrible giants in the sky. Careful the things you say, children will listen. Careful the things you do, children will see and learn. It's the last midnight. It's the boom splat coming at you fast. Midnight. Everybody smash crash. Beans, precious beans. Okay, now I'm just delirious. Into the woods, it's time to go. I hate to leave, I have to though. Into the woods, it's time, and so we must begin the journey. Into the woods, into the woods, into the woods, and out to the woods. To be continued and happy ever after. I wish. Bum. You're welcome. Hey! All right, now, thank y'all for dropping your supers here in the chat and helping to support the work that I'm doing here and everywhere else. You are highly appreciated and super duper acknowledged with your supers. I want to make sure that everybody knows that the AmandaLand Summit will have events that you can attend even if you did not attend the entire summit, namely Cracking Up the System, which is going down on Saturday morning. And that evening, you can also pay to come see a live taping of views from AmandaLand. Thank you, everybody, and thank our guests, Logan Grendel and the great Laura Chung, for joining us. We are so fortunate to be able to have these people in our network. Their willingness to come and share their knowledge and their insights is something I am just so super duper appreciative of. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. I hope that you will join us over at Patreon right now for our after the show kickback, where we, I say we, but I ain't really in the conversation. It's where the community meets after the show. It's basically the let out. So come and join us for the let out, and make sure you check out this week's episode of Small Doses Podcast, Side Effects of Forcefulness, with amazing scholar, historian, professor, and author Kelly Carter Jackson, where she is talking about the history of Black resistance, which we just do not seem to do enough talking about. I think we forgot. Because when I see people say, well, what do you expect Muriel Bowser to do? Well, what do you expect the politicians to do? That lets me know that they done beat the resistance out of you by beating the excellence into you. Yeah. Let's have a 30 seconds of stillness. I'll see you on Patreon, y'all. Peace. 30 seconds of stillness. Amanda.